Recording in progress.
Howard, I actually made a book for you, but some of the counselors have 2 books now, so I want to get you one.
No problem.
Okay.
Thanks, Catherine.
Pardon?
I found my other one.
Oh, good.
I'll bring
Okay.
it.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll bring it.
So what she meant to say, some of the councils have 2 of them.
Oh, yeah. Okay. No wonder our budget's so high.
Wow! He hasn't even been
We're
sworn
gonna
in yet.
see you there.
All right. All right. Welcome everybody to the November
Last
15th.
every night, huh?
Welcome to the Tuesday, November 15th, 2022 Pittsfield Council meeting. So I'd like to start the meeting off by inviting everybody to stand with me and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. If I ask just for a moment of silence, please. All right, thank you all very much. So let's move on to number 2. I believe that's supposed to be November 6th.
Oh, it is
What was the last meeting?
November 1st.
November 1st. Okay. So I'll look for a motion from the council on amendment. I'm not amendment. Change that to November 1st. It wasn't November 15th. Typo. Motion from council.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the regular meeting minutes held on November 1st, 2022, as amended.
Second. Move to second. Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions or comments from the council? Very well. Hearing none, I sense we're ready to vote on the regular meeting minutes. All those in favor of adopting the regular meeting minutes held on November 1st, 2022, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The meeting minutes have been adopted and approved. So let's move on to number 3, presentations, congratulations, and introductions. Catherine, if you would, please.
Yes, I'll be very brief.
Thank you.
Thank you for approving the minutes. Never did the minutes on the day of the election. It was just too exciting there. For the community and economic development activities and events, the Planning Partnership Initiative Program update is very important. We sent out a request for qualifications to over 90 firms that were listed on the main DOT consultant list. We found that a number of the consultants were no longer in business, some had retired, and some were very booked up in the planning area. It seems like there aren't a lot of consultants that do handle our type of projects, but we did receive 3 proposals, which we're now going through, just opened them, and because it's a request for qualifications and nobody technically followed the state specs exactly from what I can tell, but the items that appear to be issues are minor items, which I believe the committee can waive. They're all good firms, 2 from Maine, 1 from New York, which has an office here in Maine. So I'm going to go through those packages, gone through them with one person, go through them again and make sure we don't have any cost information there. The state of Maine requires in a request for qualifications that the cost of the project not be an item that you would look at or the committee would look at in their decision. It's a little bit different from requests for proposals when we look at the lowest cost one and then go from there. So that is supposed to not be in the specs, which are very big in terms of what they put together for their proposals. Not everyone put in a package that had a closed package or a sealed bid that had the price in it, so we need to go through the other two and make sure their price isn't in there, and if it is, somehow get that fixed. But I think that these are technicalities only. You have 3 good firms, and that information will be available for the committee as soon as they would like to set up a meeting. We'll get that to them at least a week ahead of time.
Thank you.
In terms of the Main Street project, as we know, that's on hold right now. We are talking with Oliver Associates to see what parts of the project that we could do. We'd like to make sure that the hydrants get put in as soon as possible. So that might be something that could go forward while the committee is working. I've completed all of the reports now as of last evening for all of the grants that we need to have monthly, quarterly, or semi-annual reports for. We're working on the list of grants which Lindsay had requested. As soon as I can get into the airport FAA Delphi site, which I'm locked out of, and I'm not sure why, they're trying to help me with that, I will have a list of all the airport grants. I have all the other ones together. And of course, you have the list of all the community economic development for the Main Street project, which is around $2.74 million. So you have that, and I have all the lists from the departments, which matches with the town's records. We just need all the airport grants and the exact figures. Technology is wonderful, except when it doesn't work.
Do you have those housed in like an Excel somewhere? I know you have the list you sent in October, but do you have this like track? How are you tracking that? I guess is my question. Besides like Word documents.
We don't use a Word document. We use the computer system. Until 2 years ago, when it became so busy, and after COVID, when we opened up and everything, we have a list of all the grants that we've ever had and what they were all for, but it hasn't been updated since that period of time. It's a long Word document, basically.
So
we just
when
need
you're
to add
managing
all of
those
these
grants
to the Word document.
Right. So when you're managing those grants, knowing like which ones are requiring reports annually and all those things, how are you doing that? You just use a software program?
I just know when they're needed. Sometimes there's a few programs at the state or the federal government that sends us a reminder, but some of them are quarterly, some are annual, some are when you do some work. The airport ones are done when there's work that's been accomplished, and so right now we saw we had several airport payments, but shortly it will shut down for the winter and then start up again. Everybody will talk, and then they'll start their progress meetings, which then means that I need to get the bills going as soon as the architect or the engineer signs off and everything. We check it over. So each of them is different. Most of the grants which the departments have are ones in which they just get a check, and the check comes in and we put it in the system. And then they'll have reports that they have to do, but they're very minor reports.
Right. Because they still have to know that they have to do them, right?
Pardon?
They still have. So I guess to my point, 6 weeks ago, I asked for a high-level overview of each grant, how much money would be due, because we're in the budget process for next year. So if we don't know how much money we have for each grant as we go through this process, it makes it difficult to project into the following year how we would use those funds to our advantage and offset the tax burden. So that's kind of why I asked 6 weeks ago, but it's fine. It would be lovely to have it before December 6th, I guess.
So yes, you will have it. It did take a couple of the departments some time, and I do have the issue with that FAA and getting into the account. There's a whole listing of the grants. I want to make sure we have the correct amounts.
Yeah.
I started, as the council wanted, not running out copies of everything and using the computer programs, and the computer programs are state and federal agency programs, which sometimes have issues, unfortunately.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I can't think of any of the monies from the grants, except for the Main Street ones, which could be utilized. All the rest of them are for specific projects that were beyond the scope of the town government, extras that we're doing because we got the grants. Thank you.
All set?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Catherine. Excuse me, folks. Number 4, public hearings. There are none. Let's move on to number 5, reports. We'll start with the council committees. Finance committee.
Budget workshops. Everybody.
Okay. So nothing new to add. Very well, thank you. Ordinance Committee?
Haven't met.
Very well, thank you. Recycling?
As noted previously, recycling will be starting up in January. We have 3 interested parties, so that's good.
Oh, excellent. 3 people want to be on that.
They do.
Excellent. That's good news. All right. Board committee updates. Anything on the planning board, Catherine?
Not as of yet, no.
Okay, anything else on that you want to add before we move into the town manager's report?
No, I would say the planning board will need to meet, but meeting around Thanksgiving doesn't really work for people's schedules.
Yeah. doesn't work.
So we'll have a meeting in, probably the regular meeting in December.
All right, very well. Let's move into the town manager's report, and then we'll get into the council requests after. If you would please briefly.
All right, I'll be very brief.
Thank you.
The town manager's reports are very brief during the budget process because we know it takes a lot of time to go through the budget for everyone. So we do have 2 proposals that we received for the document scanning and record management system. I put some excerpts from those so you can review them tonight, and I have a copy of the actual proposals. This was more of an exploratory bid because it is a very expensive project for the town. So this gives us some valuable information on how the companies operate, their costs of some of the proposals. The first proposal that we opened was $147,708, and basically that was to scan almost everything that we had in multiple rooms that we thought would be good to have scanned older records so we can clean up areas such as in the town council chambers and upstairs in the assessor's office, areas in the safe and some of the other offices. It's not to scan everything because that would be very expensive. It also includes a program that we can put the names of everything in and scan those documents into.
Right, that's what I was going to ask for a follow-up, because I know part of that we discussed as a potential offering is to have training or have them provide a system in place so that from that point forward,
Yes.
we won't have that need for the next 20 years.
Yep, that is correct. And we could put all the documents from this point forward. We can put the documents that are scanned. I mean, we have over 500,000 scanned documents, but we don't have everything in the order that we would like. The original order that we started out with got changed by people over time, and they would quickly put it in on the doc instead of under the names that we had set up. So we need to work on that. We have a massive drive with a lot of scans, and some of them would be items that would be here, so we need to separate this out. We obviously do not want to spend $147,000. So I think with some work on our part, when it's quieter, we can take out the duplicates, take out the staples, get them all in order for the company to save some money here.
So when it was quieter?
Yes, I don't know when that will ever be, but we're hoping. We've had the busiest period of time that any of us have ever seen. But this was an exploratory bid, so it's very interesting. The other company did not. They did a very comprehensive review of all of the rooms, broke that all down so you can match it up to the other company, but they didn't put a total in. So that's not good. But in any case, in the capitals, I had put $50,000 to get us started. You might want less, but that was a phased project. So we do know now how these are set up, so we could do another bid in which people actually follow the bid specs. They did pretty good, but they did not completely follow the bid specs. So the second is the request of proposals for the professional services, which I had mentioned. As soon as we have a meeting date, which we can set up by contacting the committee, we can make sure that they get their package of the 3 proposals that were received. Number 3 is a paving program that's going along quite well, very slow here. We are monitoring the company very closely because this morning the pavement arrived when it was not 32 degrees or 40. So it was held up and actually left. And they continued work in some of the other areas. The paving amounts are coming out well. We have a couple of other small areas to be done in towns. Most of the shoulder work is done, but the company is doing most of it. We are doing a small amount of it. That was worked out because it was part of the bid. Open positions, we have second interviews this week for the police chief, and then the police officers is going to be a heavy focus, and it would be a heavy focus for whoever is the new police chief too. For code enforcement status, I didn't do a report this week for the last 2 weeks because the temporary or code enforcement officer, Mr. Tempesta, was off most days. He had a number of items that needed to be taken care of. He is making good progress on the Webb Road. And he was making a phone call this afternoon so that we could work on the Washington Street. He's made a couple of phone calls now. We need to get that one going before he retires, which is coming up next year. 6 towns will be very sad. But he's a lovely man and does a great job. On the budget process, we've made a number of changes. So I suggest that we start with a budget workshop probably mid-June so that we can talk about when we want things due, and if we want to start earlier, start the different process earlier, what we'd like at different points in time. I think that would be very helpful. And by then, the financial software should have most of the bugs out of it. I've been told by towns that it's usually 8 months to a year before it is, but that's not acceptable. So we're continuing to work on that. For general assistance, I did send to the town councilors a copy of the town's general assistance ordinance, which is really the state's general assistance ordinance that people were interested in, as well as all the forms that we use for the regular application. So we obtained a lot of information from the applicants to make sure that they do qualify. And so I didn't attach it to the report because it was quite large. There also is a separate PDF for the burials and the cremations, which is something which we seem to be having a few of. And then the last item that we were going to discuss was the town charter and the restrictions on having a credit card. So I did check again, and it would be nice to have a credit card for sure, as dealing with not having it is difficult. We used to be able to just use the gift cards if we needed to, but most people took the purchase order. You might have 4 or 5 a year that didn't, and they needed the gift card, but now more companies are going over to the credit card. But I did talk to the town attorney. I asked if the opinion remained the same. Was there anything that we could do? And the charter is extremely strict, and I understand why. I mean, it was put together in 1976 to protect the town's funds, and it is extremely strict. And so the opinion of the town attorney remains that the town cannot have a credit card. This is because of the encumbrance section of the town charter. So I put the information in here about the payments and the obligations here. So I've tried to figure out different ways we could deal with this. And if department heads are going to have a credit card, it's not going to work the way that we would like. And so at this point, this is one of the items that you should change in the town charter. I did figure out one way we could deal with this, but it won't work logistically. But I did look around town. I see that the gift cards are back at the location that I would go to, and I can buy some as soon as I get everything reimbursed.
Hey, Catherine, there is a Home Depot credit card for the town.
Yeah, those are viewed differently. They're not actual credit cards. They're charge accounts, so they're treated differently. We have one at Home Depot. We have one at Staples. We don't use that.
Walmart. There's a Walmart one, right?
Yeah,
Or is it Sam's Club?
Walmart? They're considered differently as charge accounts because they're only at that store. They're kept in the town office. I know because I did ask that question.
Yeah.
It's different.
It is?
Yeah.
Because it's a charge card,
Yeah.
and you pay for it, but I don't know how it would be.
I did ask the question. Those are different. The town attorney does, the town auditor does not like those at all. And we only have a few.
Right. My thought was around some of the issues like the lag time between getting a PO and getting the thing you need and being limited, especially with like rec, for example. When they need to buy something for the town, it's very difficult for them to do that because most stores won't take a PO. So like you're pigeonholed into buying from either a certain company, which doesn't really seem to make sense. So I just was wondering if even though we're using a Home Depot, maybe there's a way to get one that's specific to another specific thing, like, I don't know, somewhere you can buy anything you might need, but it's store specific, like Home Depot.
I know, we did try to figure that out. I will know, it's gonna be more interesting. We have an Amazon business account. Those are all being phased out, so we're gonna have an issue regarding Amazon. We're gonna be back using my Amazon card again.
So that's why that's a topic for the charter.
Yeah, no, I just was wondering, because I knew about the Home Depot card. It dawned on me that I've used it when I was a volunteer for rec. And so I was like, well, how is that different than a charge card? But if that's...
It sounds like that may have been, not to keep on this topic, it may have been something that Home Depot submitted to the town.
No, I
that-
can charge with it, because I took it myself physically. It's a card.
Right, but it's
At the
from
store.
Home Depot to the town of Pittsfield.
That's the only place you can use it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's the only place you can use it.
It's almost like setting up an account, but it's, instead of having to go to the purchase order department at Home Depot, you just go to any cashier.
Right, you just pay for it like anything with a credit
So
card.
it's kind of like the same, but it's kind of different.
But I was just thinking, is there a way we can get one of those, because it is technically different? It's store specific to a general retailer that covers more for the sake of ease of getting what we need in a timely manner, which I think is the root cause of wanting to have one, and the Indeed thing, but a separate issue. But anyway, just the thought.
Yeah, the issues are with rec. And once in a while, there'll be an item that I need to pay for. You think Indeed, I didn't see as an issue because we spent over $1,000, like $1,000.38 or 80 cents on my credit card each month. And that was just for one job. And so I had been asked a question, was this a matter of the cost? And I didn't think it through at the time, but it somewhat is, because if we had put 4 jobs on there, you do get a discount, but it would have been a huge amount of money per month. And it didn't provide the quality of candidates that we thought it would. I think we had 46 people, almost 50, we had 46 people that we invited to interviews, and we ended up with interviews a little bit under 30.
A lot of those will let you pay by applicant too. Like you pay, but based on how many applicants you get to that job.
I did try that.
And that's a better, well, I know people who use it for that purpose.
Yeah, I
and
did
it's better
try
that. Anyway, all right, sorry, don't want to belabor a point, but I
I
just
did look
wondered.
at where we got our applicants from. It was the MMA website. It was the newspaper's word of mouth targeting a certain area. We got several people by targeting a certain area because they were trained.
We can,
Yeah.
let's
I'm
move
done.
on.
Yeah.
That's not part of the topic.
Yeah.
We have a lot to go over tonight.
Sort of fits with it, but yes.
No, I understand. We're talking about the charter and the payments and
Yeah.
whatnot, but we're getting off on the
The two specific
market areas.
areas.
Yes, we are. We got a lot to cover this evening.
All right, very good. Well, I did talk to the town attorney again, and the opinion remains the same. And the auditor has said you should have no credit cards, and I'll be reviewing them when I come. That's a charge account.
No, I still don't understand. I don't understand
I know.
I don't understand their interpretation of
Yeah,
what's
I
said here,
know.
though. Because it says any obligation incur.
I understand. I've asked the question.
Right, and that's,
But it allows in a provision if right? This it says right here.
you're reading from the charter?
I am.
Okay.
Sufficient funds therefrom are or will be available to cover the claim or meet the obligation when it becomes due and payable. So if we were to set aside, as part of our budgetary process, a fund to cover such expense.
Right. No, I don't think that's the issue. Correct me if I'm wrong, though, but I think the issue is that why this all came up is when the town manager was trying to advertise for a position on Indeed, but the only way that the charter allowed the town to operate is by a debit card, gift card. They wouldn't take purchase orders anymore. The town charter is set up to do business by way of purchase orders. But something like Indeed didn't do that. That's what started this whole question. I don't think it's a matter of having the funds available. It's being able to have the funds available when needed by the right people in the proper format.
No, I understand, but it's saying that you could have such obligations or payments, as long as there is a fund set up. It says it right here. Therefrom, or are or will be available to cover the claim or meet the obligation when it becomes due and payable. So as long as there are funds appropriated to that card, then it's fine.
In a separate-
Right. No,
It's a separate account, so that would be a budget line item that we would have to add, that we would set aside funds specifically for the use of a town credit card when and if nothing else can be used, right? And that's it. And if you read that, I mean, that's it. And this goes to a different point. We can chase down that rabbit hole entirely, but I feel that sometimes the guidance that we receive is based on a very narrow focus and in a way that does not allow any lateral movement at all. And we, in 2022, need a lot more lateral movement. This is allowing that, and I don't even see where an amendment to the charter needs to be made. I just feel that we need to follow the charter to its letter, and then we're in a position where we can actually do that. Right?
Then
it allows for it.
That warrants some discussion.
No,
I agree, that sounds like a potential problem solver, if you will, another way that we can do this.
Sure. I mean, I'm just reading straight out of
Well, no, I get it, but
Okay, after the
interpretation from you and I sitting here reading it to the
Understood.
town attorney to anyone else. You know,
Understood. I have an interpretation because I wanted to work from in a certain direction.
Especially when it goes to the charter, because if we do any changes to the charter, we're not only obligated to the town and the residents of the town, we're obligated through the state. It has to be approved by state.
Absolutely.
So we're talking state and municipal issues that we have to deal with. So.
Absolutely, which we're looking at months and months and months down the road. This is a potential item that we could fix before December 6th.
What,
to have ready for resolution by December 6th.
What page or section or area
So
is that?
I'm reading right out of what Catherine clipped right here in her town manager's report. So it's 510, section 5.10, section B. So, payments and obligations prohibited.
All right.
And then it goes into the explanation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, that's, I think when we get into the charter discussions early next year, we're going to look back on the budget sessions very fondly.
You're right.
Well, right, but to Craig's point, we need to talk to the town attorney, because if we need funds in a specific bucket of money, then we need to allocate them now for next year.
I don't know if we do. If we have, and this, I'm going to ask the town manager, because we've done this before. Let's take the fire department. If they have X amount on equipment and they're short on another one, if they can take from one bucket within another bucket of the same department, as long as the department has the same bottom line number. I mean,
But
we have the option if we
we're
need
talking
to.
about the credit card itself.
So what this says?
No, I know. Regardless of what I'm talking about, we're talking about, let's say $100,000. Let's say we have a budget for $100,000. In that, there are 5 separate line items, each at $20,000. I'll just use it for argument's sake. One of them needs to have $25,000. So let's say we need to take add another line and still keep the budget at $100,000. So that means we need to create a line. Let's say call it credit card, call it expense, whatever you want to call it. Take money from the other ones and put in there, just as long as the bottom line is still the same. I know it's kind of a generalization, Catherine, but does that need to be done now while we're in the budget process, or can we improve the budgets for these departments and then later on, if we realize that this is an option for us to be able to pay for these things on the fly, if you will, or even indeed, can those be changed?
So let's say we figure out a way around this that works for a certain area. We can simply use the money that's in that account. If, let's say you wanted to buy equipment and you wanted to go get this equipment several times during the year, you could use the equipment line. We don't have to move it.
No, so to clarify to Councilor Jester's point, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but if we had a line item in each department's budget, this line item has $2,000
Yep.
per the definition that's in that charter. This $2,000 will be kind of used like a credit card, so a person can use it for this and use it for that type of thing.
According to this.
If let's say, for argument's sake, that's correct, and we can do that. Can we, after we approve the budgets now, later next year, go to the state fire department? We have 10 different sections of the fire department. We realize we need an 11th section. So as long as the bottom line of that department budget stays the same, we can generate another line if it works for what the fire department needs for their budget.
I don't think we have to make another line. I think that, let's say this, we did figure this out. We had 2 departments that needed to use it. Usually most departments, there's no issue. We can usually talk to the companies and they'll take the purchase orders with no problem. So let's say there's 2 departments that need this. I believe by resolution you could just state that if this worked and the town attorney approved it, you could state that in X line, X is, Y is designated for credit card payments, and this is how it's done. I don't think that we need to make any changes to the budget.
So it's not necessary that we go through the budget now, because if we do have to do it now, we have 2/3 of the rest of the town budget, we gotta go back and review.
I think that the issue is getting the first step. I don't think after that it's an issue. Because the money would be in the account, you would designate it could not be used for anything else.
So it doesn't sound like, Jason, that we have to identify the line items by now. I think this, it's a point that Craig had brought up, and I think it's definitely worth looking into. I can't tell you right now exactly what that means. I don't think any of us can identify exactly what that means, because I think the terminology in there is just nebulous enough so that you really don't want to put a paycheck on it.
I think reading this, me personally, I would think that there needs to be a specific line item. Because the way that it reads says, no payment shall be made or obligation incurred unless against any allotment or appropriation, except in accordance with appropriations duly made, and unless the manager or manager's designee first certifies that there is a sufficient unencumbered balance in such allotment or appropriation. So, in my mind, that has to be a fund, a budgeted line item.
But could I make a point to, for the example of rec? This happened, countless times. It's very cumbersome, our PO process. But anyway, if you have a rec supply account that has money that's designated that has $8,000 in it, why couldn't you make a charge and say just charge it to that supply line item where there are monies that cover it? You know that you've budgeted for those things throughout the year, but I can see it now. We need soccer balls and we need them in 3 weeks, and if we order them from this one company that accepts a PO, it's going to take 4 weeks. But if we go to Dick's in Bangor today and buy them, we can have them for next weekend. I mean, we have to be agile in the business world, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to do this.
So it's not the fact that there's money or not money available. I mean, each department head is responsible for spending the budget on a per line item basis. It's just the flexibility on being able to work with cashiers at Dick's Sporting Goods or an online company like Indeed or Home Depot where they still take purchase orders. The problem we have, the charter was set up for purchase orders in that system. That's the way it's set up.
Yep.
We're trying to get more flexible.
I can see how that is. So that as basically before the purchase is made, the manager's designee has to verify.
Yeah, I would just say email you and say we need to, or even all purchases could even go through Catherine. The department heads can send her a link, click, she could be the only one that carries the card, so therefore she can see the charge, approve the charge, and order it.
Yep.
Even that would be faster than this process that our people are struggling with
Absolutely.
now.
I can see that.
And I would be, then you would be the keeper of that card, and you could use it for Indeed, Rec, whatever.
So to go back to the point that Jason made, I don't believe right now we have to go through the budgets as they stand and set up a designated separate line just for that. The lines are already identified, and I would assume that the process you had just mentioned, Lizzie, should be in place in some form or format anyway, because the department heads don't have free reign of spending whatever they want. It goes through you eventually.
The PO.
Being the head manager here, you have to have the final approval.
Right, like any purchase above
Exactly.
$50 has to go directly.
Well, yeah, whatever one it is, right, but that's a standard business practice, and that's how we do here in the town, I believe.
That's correct.
So I had thought, this won't work in my particular case because of the driving, aspect. I know it's rec that has the issue. Everybody else has been able to figure out how to deal with it, and we've been able to talk to companies. But I would, if I had the card, in order to make this work, it was explained to me I would have to go to all the locations. So that wouldn't work in our particular case.
Well,
Most of it's
what-
online.
You
Well,
could,
that's what I was told.
yes,
so.
that's, there are ways to work on that. I mean, if that's the hang up on how we're gonna work a credit card, I mean, the fact that we can use a credit card is where this discussion even started.
All right, so let's keep working on this. It's a creative item. We're not going to have a credit card that goes out to everybody.
No.
No.
Because
We would
that's
not.
what has usually been proposed by people, that all the departments get one or they all get to use it. We need to look at the specific areas where this is a problem. It's basically the rec and then the Indeed was the issue, but the Indeed, I think, is fine because we're using other resources.
The credit card or debit card, if you like, I don't like the term gift card, that gives the town manager flexibility to make these last minute calls as needed. You know,
I just don't see anywhere where it specifically says no. There's,
we're not saying no.
no, I know, I'm just saying, I don't see anywhere, we keep being told. it
Well,
says no.
well, we
I don't
asked,
see anywhere where it says that.
well, about the credit card, I mean, the town attorney has weighed in on that, that's why we don't have that, because there's gotta be somewhere else in the chart, that's why I'm saying, I can't say absolutely yes or absolutely no.
Right.
Because there's gotta be something else in there, and I haven't read through it to that degree to talk about that. I've read through it enough to know that that's something that needs to be discussed, and that's on our list, for the beginning of the year,
Right.
when we do the charter review.
So I did write down in asterisks the exact quotations that were given to me, and that is in the report that's attached to the town manager's report. So you can look through that at your leisure.
All right, Catherine, you all set with the town manager's report?
All right, I am all set. Yes, thank you.
I have a question, Catherine, about vacancies. There are none in the town office, is that right?
The budget was revised to go over the town council's plan. I think you were on the Zoom at the time that we talked about it.
For the open position recruitment?
For the positions in the town office were reallocated in order to put into play the town council's plan that they're working on.
Oh, okay. So those other roles are temporarily suspended for now. We're not filling them. I wanted to make sure I was looking at the position vacancy report and it was just different.
So the
From
one,
October
the
one.
one is the one vacancy is the one that's been revised to put the town council's plan into action.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right, so I'm all set.
All set? So D, the council request, Lindsay, are you all set with those? Do you have questions on those? I know you're, because I know with the CEO update, there's a reason why we don't have that. this
Yeah,
week.
she just mentioned that, so I
Okay.
think I'm good.
All set?
I'm sorry, I closed that back to open something else. Yeah.
So I did have the information also attached to the town manager's report about how we cannot suspend the town charter. We can suspend the town council rules on a case-by-case basis if necessary.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
Jason? Okay, very well. All right, let's move on to, that takes care of reports, let's move on to number 6, old business. There is none. So number 7, we shall, excuse me, move into new business, resolution 22-106. Catherine, if you would, please.
Resolution 22-106, resolved that the town council excuse the absence of Councilor Frost from the town council regular meetings of September 20th, 2022, October 4th, 2022, October 18th, 2022, and November 1st, 2022, due to work.
Vote for a motion, the council, please.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 22-106.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Before we go to discussion, Brent, something you'd like to speak, please?
Well, it's a tough decision whether to, because there's no guarantee that I might miss some time next year too, during the same period of time. So with that, I've never quit a job before or declined, so I don't know. I have mixed feelings whether to resign or not. Probably in the town's best interest, maybe better if I resign at the end of this year with that, based on I may miss the same amount of time next year.
Okay.
So if it seems fair, I'll resign. If not, I'll stay either way.
So,
Whatever the council,
well, no, it's your decision. It's your decision. Unfortunately, I'm going to put this on you, Brent. If you want to tender your resignation, we'll accept begrudgingly.
Well, we have to put it on the agenda and everything.
Well, his resignation is not up for discussion. He wants to resign. There's nothing that the council's going to tell him that, no, you have to stay.
The resignations of the town councilors are placed on the agenda so the council can accept it. It would be a regular agenda. Right?
Okay, that's fine, but still, if he wants to make that statement this evening, then we will act upon the next one.
That would
That's
be-
not going to affect how we act upon this resolution 22-106, however.
Correct. Yes.
I'll give resignation.
To tender your resignation. Will you be willing to stay through the end of the year, through this term?
Yeah, I'll
Help
stay.
us through this budget?
Yeah.
Well, Brent, unfortunately, I'm sorry to see you go, and I really enjoyed working with you. But honestly, I was in the same position too. I used to work overseas, quite a bit, and the council kindly voted in the affirmative to allow me to stay. But I had gotten a job down east, so I had to leave my last year on one of my terms here. So. We'll have to move that, put that onto the council agenda for next time. For Councilor Frost's resignation, Catherine.
Yes.
So with this resolution 22-106, I would recommend we approve such, and that way it will allow Councilor Frost to finish out through the end of the year, month and a half. So my recommendation is that we approve resolution 22-106 on that. Any discussion, council? Questions, comments? All right, very well. Hearing none, I sense we're ready to vote on resolution 22.
Mr. Mayor, could we have input from the public?
Yes.
I would like to speak to the resolution if possible.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Heather Donahue, 461 Webb Road. I served with Brent for his full term so far, and I found Brent to be a very capable, thoughtful counselor that carefully considered things as well as brought a lot of management talent to decision-making processes to the council. And I thoughtfully asked him to reconsider resigning from the council. I think his years of experience are very valuable for the council, and it's not unusual for counselors to miss meetings due to work, as Mike talked about earlier. It's not unusual, and I think everyone here can understand having other obligations from time to time that you need to meet, whether it be family or by work. And so, Counselor Frost is certainly able to weigh in on budgetary things by messaging the mayor or other counselors. There's other ways for counselors to be able to participate now, with the state law being that you can participate by Zoom. And so I personally would ask Mr. Frost to reconsider and fulfill his term. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Council? Yes. I'll just go, I'll get the audience, I'll get Doc.
Go ahead.
I just have a question, more procedure than anything else. I think Brent, certainly, as Mike pointed out, if you want to stay, serve out your term, that's your prerogative, obviously. But coming onto the council, I think it's important that we have a full council and all the votes of the councilors present and accounted for and speaking for their constituents. I think if some votes are more shall we say, protocol than anything else. Others take a significant amount of thought, i.e. the budget process. And, I think that if you want to stay on, that's fine, and we'll know to deal with it. If you don't, then I think that I'd like to know the process for filling that spot if he does go through with the resignation.
So the recommendation will be that we follow up with that beginning of the next terms. It will be called for by a special election.
Okay.
So that will likely be, if Councilor Frost does make this permanent, that'll likely be on the agenda item for the very first meeting in 2023, so that we can expedite as much and as legally as possible, so we have the proper amount of time for advertisement to allow anyone of interest that would want to take out papers, have it properly done and advertised for the election. So there's a process. It's going to be probably earliest we can do maybe April. But,
I think it says.
I don't know, but I would say it's a process, but it's going to be something that we'll attend to the very first meeting in 2023.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Yeah, we'll have the schedule for the first
Yep.
meeting in January.
Jason, I'm sorry I cut you off.
Okay.
You had something you wanted to...
Yeah, just to, Heather's point is, we have all these avenues of ways you can dial in and submit information to other counselors and come forth. Well, we had it this year as well. I'm not saying, if I was Brent, I'd go for the money too. This certainly doesn't pay enough to warrant missing all that work. But my point is, it's there this year, and after a 12-hour shift or a 14-hour shift, I wouldn't blame him, or I don't blame him one bit for not dialing in for a 6-hour marathon budget workshop. But that same situation is likely to happen again. So, there's nothing that changes. And we also had a very hot button topic of the town theater, which Brent did weigh in on, and that counselor didn't relay that information to everybody in the room at the time when it was extremely, volatile and issues going on. So to say you have all these other avenues, yes, you do, but if you're not sitting in the chair or online and contributing, sometimes that information, which could really benefit, us in the room, wasn't necessarily there, because, I respect his opinion and that stuff, but if he's not there, it's not there. So, if somebody else is there, especially during these painful budget processes, it's, his opinion would have been amazing this year, but, you just don't have it. So,
Hold on.
to the point is, those avenues to be there were there this year. Obviously, I don't blame him for not being there, because I wouldn't have been, but I'm just saying, nothing changes from this year to next. It's the same situation.
Right.
And that's it. And that's nothing against Brent or anybody else that would miss,
Yep.
I'm just...
So, just for clarification, the discussion is on the resolution to accept the excuse the absence
Right.
of those 3 meetings. Eric, I know you had your hand up.
Well, kind of. Not directly on the resolution anymore, but I guess.
That's fine. We've already reached that dam.
Well, I guess my point is that I think if Brent wants to stay on, he should stay on. I think if he wants to resign, he should resign. This takes a lot of time. And I can tell you, if I missed 4 meetings in a row, I would feel like I was completely disconnected from what was going on here. And then you're trying to jump back in. I could see where that would be extremely difficult. And I don't blame you. Whatever you want to do. I'm voting aye tonight to accept this. And if you want to continue to serve, absolutely. I also value your opinion. But I think I could see where missing consecutive meetings could be very difficult. I missed 1, and I thought that was enough.
You lose a lot of continuity. When I was traveling a couple of iterations ago, I was not only missing meetings, but I was 6 to 12 hours time zone differences.
Yeah.
So working 12, 14 hours, and then it's not gonna happen.
Because we were supposed to get out at 10 p.m. every meeting, and we did not. That was the rule. And
Well,
we
we're
did
shooting
not
at,
do
are we
that.
shooting at for tonight?
Well, Brent's here tonight.
That was
Yeah.
Brent's rule.
Catherine, you had something briefly, please?
I was just going to note very briefly, I'm off of it too, but before Zoom, many counselors had missed meetings and sometimes several in a row. They would email in to myself or call or have information given to me, and then I would bring it in and read it at the meeting. So we got their opinions into the record.
Okay.
I think you did, you yourself did, so.
Yes, I
That was
did.
very helpful.
Actually, I think I was the one that broached the idea of doing a call-in, or I don't think Zoom was even existent.
Correct.
Anything else? All right, so the vote is on the resolution. So, Mr. Frost, you have a lot of support, a lot to think about, but it's independent of what we're voting on this evening. Any other questions, council? Very well, hearing none, I sense we're at a vote. All those in favor of resolution 22-106, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, resolution 22-106 passes. So let's move on to number 8, reports, departments and financial. Catherine, would you,
Very briefly, you have a
Thank you.
copy of all of the reports, with the exception of the cemetery, which should be shut down by now. But you have a copy of each report from each department with all of their different projects and items that are taking place. We have one from the building inspector for the first time, so this is excellent. And so you have all of those. You also received on the table, and for anyone who would like a copy digitally, the financial reports for October 31st. Please remember, this is draft, because the Trio system shut down before I could get everything in there. It was spinning quite a bit. But we did get the budget and the revenues up to date. We did solve creatively how to get the checks out for the expense warrants that were stuck. So the amounts are in the budget in the correct places, and we did get the cash receipts into the budget for the days that it was doubling, and we figured out what may have been going on. I had to do the updates 3 times, but it worked the third time, which Trio provided us. And then we have more tickets to be drawn tonight and tomorrow. We are committed to getting all these bugs out of the system, because this has been very difficult to have this take place during a budget process. Thank you.
all set?
I am.
Very good. Thank you, Catherine. So we'll move on to number 9, reports. What we're going to do this evening, you notice there is an executive session scheduled, so we will do number 9. As well as questions and comments from the audience and the council. We will move directly into the budget workshop. We'll start with the items at the table from prior meetings, and we'll move into the new territory. Then we'll get through that fairly quickly. I'm hoping we will. We'll move into executive session. That way we'll keep the continuity of the meeting format. So what I will do is page the audience. Anyone have any questions or comments they'd like to bring up this evening? Very well. I will close to public discussion. I'll start with the council. I'll start with Deputy Mayor Lodgedice.
I have nothing this evening.
Very well. Councilor Frost. Councilor Holmstrom.
What's that?
Councilor Jester.
Good to go.
Councilor Saucier.
All set.
Councilor Hall.
I'm all set.
And I'm not going to say anything. We're going to go 7-7. I have nothing to share, nothing to move on with. So I will ask that we move right into the 2023 budget workshop. Let's start out with the fire department, please. There is a section that was printed out for tonight that has the fire department in there.
Yes, there was a Excel spreadsheet which the fire chief submitted this afternoon after our meeting.
That's a single sheet.
With suggested changes.
Well done.
So the Okay, so for the fire department, the Excel spreadsheet is 97,365. The budget is at 97. I don't have my original book. Is this the same as the last meeting? 97,365.
That's what the proposal was.
That's the original.
Right.
Page 25.
25. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. 97,365.
Yeah, that's the number.
Need another desk.
Need less paper.
Yeah, less paper. Bigger views and change. Okay, so what we have, Bernard, thank you, and Catherine, thank you for working on the Excel spreadsheet. We have this spreadsheet that was developed that gives a little bit more meat to the bones on this, per the discussion we had last time about where we are, real time. So is any line item there that, council, you had any questions on, anything that jumped out at you? So I don't know if it was a matter of the cost that we're looking at, is the having the identification on the per line item. Bernard, anything you want to prime the pump with here?
I've asked to have some monies moved forward in the next year. If you've got the bottom of that sheet. And what I've discovered is that if you take 2 years worth of, when you go out to bid, you can buy 6 instead of 3 in the prices in today's market. That's making some difference.
So you're talking uniforms, PPE, and equipment?
Right.
I'm sorry.
For example, helmets. They used to be $200, now they're $400. You know, if you buy 10, which we need about 15 of them, but if you buy 10, you're down around 3 1/4. So it's $75 a piece savings. And I've looked at these guys that sell online, which look like a great deal until you figure in the freight, and then it's not so great sometimes. The other problem is if you have a problem, the guy sitting in New York that you just bought this from, he really don't care. He's got your money, and maybe I'll fix it, maybe I won't. I prefer to do business with the local vendors if it's financially feasible. If they're twice as much, no, we're not going to play that game.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We've had pretty good luck with the vendors, standing behind their stuff. If it doesn't function, and the helmet, for example, if you get a brand new one and it breaks, and the guys in New York, maybe you'll get it back in 6 or 8 weeks, and maybe you'll never get it. So. But I've asked to have those carried forward. And if you look at what's remaining, which is a little different with the sheet, but it's not enough to make much difference, I don't think. And under the known, these are for part-time, for example. Right now, if we paid today, I need $14,000 out of that 18 that's left. And we still got another period to go before we. And we've been very fortunate this year, though we've had a lot of calls. They've been of short duration. And all it would take was a couple of 4 or 5 hour fires, and that 18,000 would look a little skinny.
So, question I want to ask you, Bernard. You have uniforms, 2,000 budgeted, 2,000 remaining. PPE, 7,000 budgeted, 7,000 remaining. Equipment, 6,000 budgeted, 58.70 remaining. So it was $130 you used out of 14,000. And you have in the last column, possible unexpended, you're not showing any cost at all, so you're not even using those budget line items. So do we know what you mean for, I mean, you're talking about SCBA's after a certain while they need to be replaced, or helmets need to be replaced. I mean, are you?
Under possible, the 7,000 for PPE that's possibly unexpended if you don't allow it to move forward. If you say no, then I'll go buy what I can buy with it, rather than wait and double it with next year's.
I mean, I would think that we would try to take advantage of the money that we budgeted this year that's still remaining in the budget to using those line items. And then what we're working towards is moving money around in that budget to make the 3% good for his salary increase, right?
Well, I'm with you, because if you look at the way this is right now, of course, if someone takes this, without having you here discussing it, well, they've got $14,000 budgeted, but they're not even gonna use any of it. Why is it even budgeted? I mean, there's an expectation you're gonna need some equipment, but you're not showing it being used at all. So that would lead to my next question. I will get back to that. I was under the impression, correct me if I'm wrong, that if money was left over from a department, that doesn't necessarily go back into the department, so they start building up a kitty. That sounds like what you're asking for.
Yeah, that's
I
what
mean,
was
is
said
that,
last
I
week.
mean, if we put 14,000 in on those three line items, I'm not picking on those three, but let's take that 14,000, 2023, possible, we're not gonna use it, and they wanna put 14,000 onto the next year's budget, plus have those line items again, so they will have 28,000. Can you clarify that, please?
Yes,
It
certainly.
doesn't make sense to me.
Under the town charter, if there are projects that were not completed that couldn't get done because of some circumstance, let's say we put engineering in, we were going to engineer a road and we didn't do it, you can carry forward for that specific project. But we're not supposed to be carrying forward, money everywhere here. If Bernard has items to do, I think he could spend the money before the end of the year.
But if what you're saying is it's cheaper to buy in bulk, so to not buy this year so that you can buy it cheaper next year, it would make sense to do that, right? I mean, you don't have to buy uniforms every year necessarily, right? So next year you just wouldn't budget for them again. If you buy them in next year with the bulk order and you get them less, you won't need them for the following subsequent year, right?
Not as much.
Or not as much. So
Right, but you can pull from one line item to another to do that, right? So like if there's three line items that we're discussing that haven't been touched except for $130. So we could pull two of the three, right, and make what he needs and just change his line item budget. It doesn't matter what's left over this year, because this year, to Catherine's point, is going to go back into the general fund, which just goes back
2022.
Right.
Right.
Which just goes back to this starting next year, correct? So, I mean, I'm a big fan of what is in my budget is used during that calendar year, and we kind of move on. It's a line item, right? That's what we discussed about, right? Line item budget. So if this year, PPE, he needs to purchase helmets, and he's put 7,000, but we don't need the equipment because we just bought all the SCBA equipment this year, right through that in June. We can take 5,000 out of that 6,000, stick it up on the 7, make that line item $12,000. Now he has that set for his purchase, and we still have not affected the bottom line at all. But it's still a line item budget, right?
No, I understand what you're saying. What I'm having a hard time getting past, this is, to me, we're juggling numbers around. This is not representative of what he actually needs.
That's right.
That bothers me.
Me as well.
Yeah, we're going to accept this, but it's not going to be real because we're going to move the numbers around, do something totally different. That's the problem I have with this.
Well, that's what
I'm saying, Catherine.
We should buy the items that were planned for in this budget year in their accounts.
If there's a situation where 2023, we're going to have a big savings by buying in bulk, let's have it reflected in here. Don't put it in here, and if you don't use it, save it for the next year and then buy it then, because we can't have one department, regardless of what department it is, expect to have a surplus in there and wait till it's convenient to buy the equipment later on, because that surplus does not go in that department. It goes in the general fund.
And the general fund.
So if we have $14,870 that's allocated to the fire department and they don't use it for 2023, that's $14,870 we could have used somewhere else and not had to increase the taxes that much.
Well,
That's the problem I have with this.
That's exactly correct.
Spot on.
So I think that if the money's going to be moved, it needs to be moved predetermination on the budget.
Or if it's going to be used, if there's legitimate uniforms, PPE, and equipment for 2023, we need to show it as being bought in 2023. Otherwise, if you don't have any costs allocated to these three line items, we can't carry forward. I know they request that, but we can't. We can't carry forward from one department to the next in the budget, can we? anything that's left over from one year of the budget goes into the fund.
It does unless we go through a resolution in which we carry forward the funds, but it's supposed to be for items that there's no way to get done because something happened, there's some circumstance, and so I apologize for that, but I don't see it here, unless we had some massive items such as, let's say, for the 7,000 on PPE, there was no way to spend that. You needed to couple it with next year because there's no way to spend 7,000, the minimum is 15,000. You know, there has to be a specific
So,
item.
I understand that it doesn't carry forward directly line item to line item, but it still carries forward into the next year. Still money that we're not encumbering the tax.
Right, but it's not.
The tax base.
Right, but Brian was saying he wants to have, if it carries forward, allocated, so when next year's budget comes through, he'll have that much more and buy in bulk what he needs. We can't earmark money that's left over in one budget next for a certain department.
Well,
That money is allocated by council as needs arise in other departments.
oh, absolutely. If you-
We can't build up kitties.
No, if you did that based on the October spend, wherever the heck that went now, we would have a lot of money being moved forward, right? There's departments with,
Exactly. I mean, we had, I remember we had like the last 3 or 4 years on that, I think.
47% spend, 60% spend, 46,
Carries forward.
44. Right, so obviously we can't, but it's still, you still build your budget based on the needs for next year, right? So if you need $14,000 in PPE next year, then we need to take some money out of some of these other line items, move that to that line item, and that's the budget that we worry about. We don't worry about what 2022 is. 2022 is just a guide for what you should do in 2023. That's just the basis, right? And I don't know.
So with this, these 3 line items, Brian, this is for 2023 budget. Do you expect to expend that money for 2023?
Are we talking about 23s or 22?
We're talking about 2023's budget. That's what we're working
The
on.
proposed budget.
Yes. In your proposed budget right now, you have these 3 line items you want to carry forward.
We're talking about 2 different budgets, 22
No,
and 23.
no, we're talking about this, 2023. There's nothing on here that says 2022 budget.
So consider at this point 2022 kind of done. We're wondering what you're going to need for 2023. That's all we care about forward. That's all we care about tonight.
Well, let's go down through them. I don't think we can afford to take any out of the part time. I think that we have, you know, again, I don't have a crystal ball knowing how many and how long we're going to be. We're not going to have, you know, there's going to be some left at the end of the year, but again, depending on what happens between now and payday. We could put a lot of hours, that's one storm, we can put a lot of hours on the clock.
Well, I thought we were trying to increase that line item by 3% minimum, right?
No, that 3% was not allocated to that because that 3% was going to be made up from, because the anticipation was there was going to be some in there to allocate, to allow for that 3%.
That's right. 2505 was going to be reduced by 1,000. 15.
Yeah, I wish I had my book, I had my notes, I had my notes, and my apologies, I have mine.
No worries. 1510 by.
We're going to leave that the same. Moving on, or we're going to.
So your proposal to us was to reduce the uniform budget by $500, the equipment non-vehicle maintenance by $500, and the contractual by $1,000.
We can't, the contractual is, when you get done this year.
I'm sorry, equipment. I wrote by the wrong line item.
Because right now, there's $1,208 that we didn't spend out of contractual, and the reason for that is that I didn't have, because we had new SCBA's coming, I didn't spend the money, the $1,200 or so dollars it would cost to
Right.
test the old ones.
Right, but to Councilor Justice's point, there were 3 line items that you offered $500, $500, and $1,000 respectively, so there's an extra $2,000 that you had in your budget you could allocate, and I apologize that when I wrote those notes down in my other book, and so I don't have it.
I got them right here. If I can see yours, I'll write it right on there for you.
It's pretty many pieces of paper, I can't keep track of.
So
So-
uniforms is going to 1,500. Don't you say, Craig?
I think
Uniforms is 1,500,
Yeah,
0535.
yeah.
1510 equipment non-vehicle, was
Yep.
going to 3,000.
Okay.
Right.
And 20-05 equipment to 5,000.
And then his top line's going to 41,000.
41,000.
Right.
So essentially, it's what we have in this spreadsheet, Catherine Bernard, this is just reflective, a bit more detail what your original budget request for 2023 was. Other than the changes that we talked about last time, that $2,000 total.
We just moved it. And then again, if you have things like equipment that you think that you're going to need to purchase, or PPE, the helmets,
I'll go get them tomorrow morning. I'll order them tomorrow morning.
and if you can use them within the funds that you have for this year, I think more power to you.
So I want to ask you a question. This sheet to me is confusing. This here, and it goes back to that 14,870. If I was to read this sheet, you have those three line items, almost $15,000 that you want to budget, but you are stating that at the end of the year you're only going to spend $130 out of $15,000. So I guess I don't understand the theory there. I mean, if we were looking at it solely at budget, well, we're going to put $7,000 into a line item, he's not spending any money, no, let's cut that out. I'm exaggerating to make a point, of course, but it's confusing how this is. I
But
mean,
in the past, we have been allowed to move that forward to double the money for the following year. And if that's not going to happen, then I'll spend it now. And
Well, I'll tell you what, let's turn to the town manager and ask for clarification on that. Has that been, has the fire department been allowed building up a kitty?
This isn't something that was planned to be done, but Bernard did ask in 1 year to move monies forward as a carry forward for 3 different accounts. But these are monies that are supposed to be spent, not built up.
Right, so how was that handled then? If it wasn't spent and carried forward, how was that allowed?
The council decided we would do it at his request.
So how was it done though? I mean, did the council,
It was a resolution.
it was a
It's
resolution?
the council's choice. It was a recommendation from the department head.
So how would the resolution be worded? How was it worded?
It would be it resolved that carry forwards in the amount of blank be approved, and then we'd have a list of them. It's
Okay,
an
but,
item that we look at in every December.
no, I get it. There are other departments and we voted on that numerous times, so have I. But this budget in that resolution is set up so that essentially you are building up a kitty. The fire department asked for a request to build up a kitty.
Which isn't really the purpose of the carry forwards. It's for projects that don't, or items that don't get done that were budgeted for specific items. So if you wanted to carry forward the PPE because it didn't get taken care of, that's fine, but it's not, it keeps building up, $7,000, $7,000, $7,000.
Right, okay, that's the part I don't understand. Why, if
Allocation every other year.
It's supposed to be a one-time thing.
So that
no,
you can.
because it's only going
So just stay with them.
So Bernard, on your line item, let's talk about the PPE, $7,000. So do you anticipate $7,000 worth of PPE for 2023?
Yes, that's 3 sets of turnout.
Okay. And the same for uniforms, $2,000? And the same for equipment, well, it's down 5,000 now.
We have some chainsaws that are getting people that we need to replace. We're also gonna have to look at replacing our extrication tools because the company has just advised that they're no longer gonna make any repair parts for their 5,000-pound
Okay.
system.
So your intention is making this budget, you have items allocated for these line items. Okay, so if we took out that possible unexpended, that's very confusing. I think that's not working to your benefit. That's why we're expending the last 20 minutes talking about this sheet. So if you have items that you plan on spending in this budget, if there is money left over, I have no issues like we've done with other departments. If you have money left over from your budget, well, we could really use part of that new fund, that new excess in the budget for this and this and this. The town manager writes it up as a resolution, it will come before the council. This whole idea, like I said, I don't think you did yourself any favors, accounting-wise. The whole idea is saying, well, we want to put that in there and carry over next year so we can have more in there.
You already have that information, you just call something else as a percentage remaining in the budget on the first sheet you got.
Right, understood, but what I'm saying is that I don't know why this is put in here, but possible unexpended on those three line items equals almost $15,000. So if you had taken those columns right out right there, it'd be a totally different conversation. That's why I want to ask what your intention was. If you actually do have $1,500 worth of uniform, $7,000 worth of PPE, and $5,000 worth of equipment that you plan on expending for the fire department in 2023. Okay.
So what's the reduction line? What's the point of that?
Is that proposed reductions?
I think if we get those last two columns out of there, I don't know why. To me, it makes no sense. This is not a good format. This is the only department that uses this.
So I just asked, what he's saying is he's willing to reduce them that amount.
Right, that's what I'm saying, so.
So that would be the new budget request, right?
You take the emergency management, the last, not this year, but 20 and 21, we spend a lot of money because of the goings on. This year, we haven't spent that much. We're gonna, so we could reduce that to $2,500 if you like. And hope that we don't spend it 37.
So, line item 0139, emergency management,
Right.
we could take $1,250 out of that and put it down to $2,500. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Training and conferences?
Well, depends on which sheet you look at, whether it's called that or it's called mandatory training, but it's basically the same thing.
0525, right?
Right. We used to have to pay for a lot of these courses, which now the state has gotten some grant from the federal government, and they're putting the bill for them.
Okay. Well, I'm just looking at the reduction column that you have here.
Right. You could take that down to 1,000.
$1,000?
Memberships and dues. I dropped out of one thing we don't have to pay for. You take that down to 500.
Down to 400, right?
So it's at 5. Do you want 400?
Well, we have 400. I'm sorry.
Will that cover you what you need for the year? Okay. 400.
Uniforms, we've already taken down to 15.
Yep, 1,500 you there.
The gasoline, we could take that down to maybe leave 150 in it.
I don't know if I'd want to touch that. I'd say we leave that right there, Bernie. You may add that to one of the three lines, put money into.
Well,
Same with
the
diesel.
thing is, gasoline is one of those things we don't use much of, but it gotta go. Diesel, there's 800 left in there right now, but I don't think there's that much.
I wouldn't touch it.
Well, no, we can't because, like I say, 1 4-hour fire, we could burn up, 100 gallons of diesel pretty quick.
But you've got 2,600
Right,
in there.
that is period.
That's sufficient
years,
for you?
but it hasn't been $7 a gallon either.
Yeah.
That's right, I would tell.
Okay. So we're not going to touch that.
So we'll take equipment maintenance down to 3,000, Again, this year we were very fortunate in a couple of things that needed fixing that Kimbrough fixed for us, and we didn't have to pay for it.
Yep. So that's 3.
The equipment down to 5.
So it's actually a $3,050 change because $500 that was in the equipment maintenance was already accounted for in our change on the top line of $4,100.
Right. So we're just changing it 3450, right?
No, we changed it $3,050
Off the bottom line?
off the bottom line.
Okay. So
Oh,
we got,
well. Well, we left the $100 in there, so.
Oh yeah, $3,150. Sorry.
so 97,365 minus 3,150,
Yeah.
94,215.
$94,215.
Yep.
Now, Bernard, if there's any other department that we would leave short, we'll feel more comfortable, but are you good with that?
Based on what I know right now, yes.
Okay.
The only place that we could get slammed again is wages and catastrophic.
If it happens, that's why we've had those resolutions before, moving funds around. Okay.
You know, we blow up a fire truck, that's expensive.
Yep. Yeah. That'll be a different discussion.
$40,000 to rebuild a pump. You know, that's rebuild pump.
I can do it for 20.
And they were out of service for like 8 months getting parts.
Oh, yeah, I'll do it for 45 then.
Making parts.
Any discussion? Anybody? I apologize. Did someone have a hand? Did you have your hand up? Heather?
I did. I was going to ask Bernard if it made more sense to have a line item, 14,000 every other year for the bulk purchasing, but he said no, because you have things happen
Okay.
every year and stuff.
All right.
Just-
Anyone else? Yes.
Could we allocate
For the record, you state your name and your address.
Eric Glencross, West Branch Terrace, and my question is, could we allocate any of the money that is in the Egg Festival Fund for any of the budget stuff?
That would. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, please.
You could, but this year there is no Egg Festival, so there's no allocation to the Egg Festival.
Okay.
Next year, the Egg Festival is to begin again, more as a farming venue. So I would say no, it should go to surplus.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
So, council, what we have is a bottom line of $94,215. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, we'll go around, Pete.
So that's increasing the part-time up to 41 as well.
That's moving the.
Yeah, that includes that, yeah, yes.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Right,
I'm okay with it.
Lindsay, good? Craig?
Yep.
Eric? Jason?
Yep.
Very good, I am too. So the fire department budget passes. Very good, let's move on to, let's move on to police. This will be our first time. Bernard, thank you very much for your time, appreciate it.
It's on page 23 to 24 of the budget. And comes in at a decrease of $67,336, or 6.6%, basically because the school resource officer was removed.
Okay. So the 945,817 is a decrease from last year, 67,336.
Correct.
Okay. That was the number 67,336? Is that what you read?
It's $945,870.
No, the decrease, you had
A
60.
decrease of $67,336.
336, okay, thank you.
What line was that?
That was the
Personnel services.
Yes,
School resource
basically
personnel.
school resource officer that was in 01, 05, and at the end in 66, 36. And then there's pluses and minuses throughout, as put together by Acting Chief Cochran and Administrative Assistant Amy Kitchen, who's here this evening.
0105, what, does that have a percentage increase?
For 01, 05, all the positions were left the same as were in there, except for the chiefs and the administrative assistant. The chiefs, as we have found, we can leave that as the amount it was last year, which I'll pull out right now.
Okay.
All right, I made a chart for that. Let's get to the chart here.
So you didn't,
So we tabled it.
so you didn't put a percent increase on the chief?
I had put one in, but we do not need it. We found from our interviews. So it can remain the same, which would be 76,962.60 cents.
Okay, so 76,962. That was the original wages for chief of police, and what percentage did you put in there?
I had put in the 5%
Okay.
for both the chief and the administrative assistant. They're not in the union. The union amounts were left as they were before.
Okay, so if we take the 80811 plus the 50232, that totals what you added the 5% to.
The 5% was added to the chief.
Just those two wages?
Just those two, yes.
Okay, so that'll be down to three. Let me see. I put the wrong number.
So the chief will be 79,271.48.
76,962.
Oh, you're gonna keep
Last year's.
So you're gonna keep that the same?
There's no one in the
I think it will-
position.
I think from what
Okay.
we found, it
Yeah.
will work.
Okay,
All
so
right.
76 what?
76,962.
60. And so I had been talking to Jason before the meeting. We have a chart that I've adapted from 2019, and I've gone through all the wages here. Some of them ended up being 3%, but some were 2.9 or one was 2.5. So I can fix all of these so that
Right.
all the ones you change to 3 are free. It's just a few dollars easily. It's hard to do things at the meeting. And then the ones that were left at 5%, the lower wages, which are staying at 5%, will stay at 5%. So I can go through and fix all those once we're through the budget tonight, as well as all the social security.
So you good with that?
So what's our total on that line? 490,781.
Well, no, because the admin assistant, instead of 5% would be 3%. which would be
Yeah, the
40
admin assistant would be,
49,275.
That's
yes,
right.
correct.
49,275. So I took. Okay, that's the difference in 957 and the 76, 962, 8081,
480,984.
3849. Four eight nine 824.
824. Yep.
Chuck. Yep. Okay, so change you want to make here: the chief pay will be at 76,962. The other officers will stay the same. Admin assistant will be what was it? 49,275.
Yeah, for a total of what, 489?
49,824.
So the difference being 489,824.
Captain,
489.
2023 is the negotiation year, correct?
Correct. So what the council has asked that I do when I put the budget together, we used to put them together and have what the new wages would be, but then they negotiate for the new wages or higher. So the council a few years ago said, leave the union positions as they were and then have a lump sum in the unclassifieds to address that, which we were able to change that by the end of the year. We may not be able to this year because negotiations haven't started yet. Well, shortly.
We'll have to revisit that, because
We
there
will
was,
revisit
there was
it.
myself and Deputy Mayor Lodge Dice on the police negotiating committee, when the negotiations come up again for contract.
So do we have any kind of projection or understanding where that might be this year?
We haven't started the negotiations yet, but we just were contacted, and I got a couple of dates to go over with them tonight. We'll be starting shortly in December. I doubt for the public hearing we'll have a better figure. We can do some estimating though.
All right, what else are we looking at on this thing?
So, Captain, you're gonna make the, of course, with every budget that we've changed the increase from 5 to 3%, we're gonna have changes on that, so you're gonna do the same for this?
Correct. I'm going to go through the whole thing once we're done tonight and get all the notes and the tapes that I can look at just to clarify.
So the bottom line's gonna be small percentages of what we actually see, so
It's very
if the numbers aren't matching, it's gonna reflect the Social Security and everything else, the state line insurances, based on that lower wage, that 2% drop that we put into the wages for the positions.
It may affect workers' comp and some of the budgets that have a higher worker comp amount. So I'll look over that too.
There's some pretty significantly undercharged like sub-accounts here.
So that was kind of my question. We tabled this budget because they weren't really represented well. Amy's here tonight. If we have questions, are we directing the questions?
Yeah, I mean,
Are you comfortable to speak on the line items on this whole budget?
Most of them, yeah.
Most of them, okay, good. Perfect. I had some similar, I was looking down through like some of the mandatory training.
Yeah, uniforms.
Mandatory training is 12% burnt, uniforms, general, and there's just a lot.
yeah,
2005
let's,
purchase, 22% burnt.
if you want to start with line item, Amy's here to answer to it as best she can.
Okay, so let's
There's
start
like
with,
10 line items that are less than 25% utilized. So how would we, Amy, what would you recommend in terms of what can we do to those?
So I think the biggest problem right now is we don't have the officers that we should have. So for training, we haven't had the officers to send the training. We did just go out and get them on sized and done for uniforms because they do need all uniforms. But again, it's not going to be the number that we need because we don't have the officers there. But we, so once we will have the officers, we're going to need the training there. We're going to need the uniforms there because we're going to have to put them on the issue.
Right, can you do that before the end of the new year to use the money that's in here now? Can you buy those uniforms before the end of the fiscal year?
For
the ones that are here?
The ones that are here, we've
So
already
you
done
can
that.
allocate for next year
We
more.
just went and got them outfitted last month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. I don't know if you can or can't answer. I know we're in the process of looking at new officers and the police chief. Maybe the council's can answer to this. Do we anticipate? I mean, do we have officers that we're going to be able to get the full strength here pretty quick? Is that something that we can share? Because what I'm thinking is, if we're going to be highly possible to be at full strength, or at least just one officer shy within the next month or two, I can easily let a lot of this go, because the anticipation is that we'll have a budget reflective of the people actually working there. You see, maybe that'll.
Well, I know I've been to a lot of documents and stuff like that, and everybody that I talk to is just waiting to find out who comes in. So as far as having more staff to equip them with something, I don't think we're going to see really anybody sign on until we know who the chief is.
Yeah. Can Jason, you or Lindsay or Kath, can you share where we are? Do we have bucket full of names that we're choosing from, or are they trickling in? I mean, because that's pertinent to what we're talking about on this budget.
So we're doing second interviews. We should have a candidate shortly.
For-
If we did, we could do an appointment
Candidate
in
for what?
December, police chief.
Okay.
We need to get the police chief because we have a few people watching around, and whoever is the police chief may have friends that want to come on to the department too.
Okay.
And so we need to complete the process because there's scheduling issues, not ours, but some of the candidates.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna put you guys on the spot, Jason and Lindsay. What's your feel for this? I mean, are we in a point where we can say, oh yeah, this is gonna be a good budget? Do we expect to have somebody in place here a month or 2 or 3? Or
Well, I mean, I don't.
I know I'm putting you on the spot and you gotta pull out your crystal ball, but if we had absolutely no one in the pipeline, it'd be hard to sell this.
We hire a chief, that doesn't necessarily mean the next week we have a full staff.
Right.
You know, we could still be 3 men short for.
Right, but we have potential that we didn't have when we.
Well,
did
yeah,
hire.
different,
I think it's
definitely
reasonable.
different potential, but I don't.
I think it's reasonable, like, to think that if you brought in a new leader and you were to take a vacancy rate and reduce it down, it would take a good 3 or 4 months to achieve that, like a quarter. So I would prorate this. I would say it's going to take 3 to 4 months to get, if best case scenario, the force back up to full. That would be best case scenario. We've struggled with officer vacancies for what? I mean, just from what I've heard, at least 2 to 3 years now. So it's not going to magically go away. I think the budget seems like it's over in many, many places. Even if we went 75% of the remainder, I think it would be a good, reasonable, it's going to be a quarter of the year without the officers. And then hopefully we'll be back to full. But you could probably take 75% of that and have it work for next year. That would be my guess.
I mean, and what, not to keep going on, like what happens with all of this? There's a ton of money here that probably won't be utilized between now and the end of the year. Where is that going?
It goes into how the Craig
Cloud in the sky.
Sludge fund, Jason.
Sludge fund.
Sludge fund.
No, it goes into what we're talking about with burning the fire department. It goes into the general fund, and then it comes to the council as a resolution. Okay, well, this department need
Right,
more
so-
of this, so we.
So to that point, do we kind of right size this based on what we know now?
Well, that's why I was
And then
asking.
use that carryover money.
That's why I was asking the anticipation.
Everybody hired and.
Because if we budgeted it for what we have now, it's going to be a lot less. And then 6 months from now, we're back up full strength. We're trying to get full strength, but we can't because we don't have a budget for it.
I think
And,
if I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just kind of wanting to know. This money, it just, I don't know.
Well,
I
it's
don't
like
know where
almost
it
$500
ever
million.
goes.
It's a lot of money for this
a ton of
department.
money.
But 60% through October, so I mean, if we get to,
It is, but it is less than last year though. 67,000.
I got a couple questions.
Yeah.
A couple of the line items. So 20-05 equipment. There's just, if you can clear this up, 20-05 and 20-15 both list tasers annual fee. One says annual contract, one says cost, yearly cost.
So I was trying to figure that out too. When I was talking to Marty, I said, do we have a contract with somebody? Why we have the fee and or leasing this? We don't. I don't see where we have that. I couldn't find it. I do know that next year they're going to sevens, which are more expensive
Okay.
tasers, and we're going to need new ones. But I don't know why there's 2 lines for that.
Yeah, there's two line items.
That's
So
what
obviously, without knowing the breakdown on that 20-05, we don't know how much is actually allocated for that portion of it. But I do see that listed twice.
So we don't own them.
We do. We actually buy them. Since I've been
Okay.
here, I don't know if maybe they leased them before or something, but since I've been here, there's a company that we buy from. So I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if you, Catherine.
So is that an old carryover account from
It's
4 years ago?
It's a lease purchase for the tasers because they were so expensive. We bought them over a period of time. So it's a lease purchase. So the equipment rental line is correct. the 1,500, that is the lease purchase, and I think the name may have just been left in the other account because they used to buy a taser here and there. And so it probably should not be listed up above.
So how many more years for that?
It says annual contract, not just taser
Yeah.
purchase. It actually says annual contract.
Right, but it's in the equipment because they used to buy them. I think this is just the way the department set this up. It should be equipment rental, 1,500, that is the lease purchase.
Okay.
And then in line 2005, you would take out Taser's annual contract.
So this lease purchase on 20-15, is that, how long have we been doing that? How many more times are we going to see that 1,500? If it's a lease, I get it, but it's a lease purchase. So it's got to be ending sometime.
Like Ian just said, they're getting ready to move the new one, so we're getting ready to renew this all over again.
But is it gonna be a lease purchase again?
That's up to us if we can buy them or, the company that the prior chief
So-
went with,
So line
used
20
only
dash,
lease purchase.
line 20-15, 2019 actual, $0. 2020 actual, $0.
Take it
And
out.
then in 21, there was a balance in there.
What line are you talking about, 20-15?
Yeah. So the yearly taser costs, so are these tasers like 1 year old?
Based on that assumption, yeah, I would assume so. Is
We
that
didn't spend
correct?
anything in 20 or in anything in 19.
According to my, because it was done before I was here, according to the thing, our serial numbers match up from when, like, Tim Lucen and Steve Emery were here. So that tells me they're not just a year old.
Right. So it tells me that it was probably been budgeted for a long time, and they're probably already paid off.
Right.
I'm just guessing. I mean,
But where would, why would that money?
And there is no lease.
Why would that money show up spend in 21? Why would that?
well, it's
money show spend?
$2,240, which doesn't make any sense.
No.
It's not even the 1,500.
Heather,
I had a question along with that same item, 20-05. Pistols and magazines for department. Wasn't there just a large purchase of new
Yeah.
pistols for the department?
yeah, there was.
It hasn't all been purchased yet. It's been approved. I
But
look, I
that's
think
this
it should come out
this year. It
budget.
shouldn't be appearing again in 2023's budget. It was like over $9,000
Yeah, that's right.
for the pistols. So
You're right.
I had the same question.
Yep, I had the same question. And I also thought that we did the holsters. I thought we did, earlier this year, we did full body armor with integrated, because they were concerned about, they were concerned about the workers' comp issue with a belt versus.
Amy, can you talk to that?
So we have got those ordered. Unfortunately, it takes months for them to come in because the plates and the sizing. So we are waiting for those. But I believe that was on. Wasn't that taken out of a different fund?
Yeah,
For
is
the
that
veterans?
markup?
Yeah, it was originally projected to be in the police budget, and then it was taken out once the definitions changed for the American Recovery Funds. It was taken from that account as well as the fire department's SC.
So should this 2005 be less than what it shows because it's including bowler wraps too? We added that part
Yes,
of
we
it.
did that one too.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
it-
fine. So that line item has been,
Bowler wrap
Right.
shouldn't be on there.
Right. Okay, so now I'm looking at that 18,169. Is that real or is that before the last year when we went through ARPA? Do we know what that 18,169 is consisting of for 2023? Can you answer
I
that?
believe that 18,000 would be for pistols included. I do know that, our ammo has gone up, so we do, and stuff like that, magazines, all that. We are gonna need the new tasers, but gold wrap shouldn't be on there. I know we took that off. Holsters and everything else, we are gonna have to get all new ones because they're new guns.
ammo is up on line
Yeah,
1005.
Sure, yeah, sorry.
It's on 1005, so that's gone up from 7,500 or 7,750 up to 9,750. So that's accounted for the additional.
And that's about right for ammo too.
It
Yeah.
has been more
Yeah.
expensive.
So
Because I know Marty and I were kind of confused. We're like, why are ammunition and mace in drug kits under general supplies, off of generally kind of like general supplies, where it's more like it goes with the pistols and stuff.
Yeah.
It's consumables.
Well, I'm that concerned about the equipment, pistols and magazines. I mean, we spent what, $9,000 to $10,000 for those through ARPA. Now we have more with the Mac and the holsters.
Yeah. Plus, there should be money back to this anyway because there was a buyback on the guns,
Yeah.
correct? Right, so there should be a revenue line item that matches that at some point.
The only other thing we do have to consider that I know we discussed upstairs, Marty, is our rifles
Yep.
are almost like antiques.
Okay.
So he was gonna have to look into those as well, because we've got two of them in the cruisers that are semi-okay, but the other ones, I don't know if I'd even.
So, quick side note. I'll ask you 30 seconds. You can answer in 5 seconds, and then we'll move on. Are they upgrading the pistol range down there to allow for rifle target practice down there?
We already did it.
Already did it. Okay. Where did that money come from?
It was donated.
Really?
Yep, somebody just came in and used their equipment and did it for us.
Super. Okay, good. We have 8 seconds left. Thank you, Jimmy.
So what? So on
okay, go ahead.
well, on uniforms, you got the BP vest carriers. Isn't that what? Isn't that the ARPA money we got? You know, the new vest.
Oh, okay.
The ARPA money, that would be for any new officers. In 2023, you're going to have some officers who haven't been fitted.
Right.
So
Including your
we're
chief.
not supposed to use the vests that we have, although once in a while we have. It's better that they be fitted to their own vest.
I don't know. They still got like 17 grand in this year's funds for that.
Well, I'm not saying that these should be the figures, so you can cut them.
Yeah, and I thought that we did it for the. I thought we set aside enough money for the full complement of officers when we did that.
It
Right?
was for a number of officers. Some of them already had items. But if let's say we hire 3 new officers next year, the carriers and the bulletproof vest may not fit them. You have to be very careful.
Sure.
You might have somebody that's exactly the same, but generally they get one. They might use that one for a little bit of time, but because it takes a while to get them in. But they should be fitted for safety and
I'm sure.
insurance.
Right, but we still have
purposes.
17 grand from this year.
So how much is one? This is why, so I'm gonna make a proposal that we table this, because there's so many holes in this that it's almost,
Yeah.
it's like we're gonna have to work through this budget as a council instead of having it worked through with you, Catherine, and the department, because we should be able to look at this, and instead of it being in a paragraph form and us having to decipher what's what, we should be able to look at this and see how many vacant officer positions are there? 3 at least, right? The chief plus at least 2 to 3 others. So that's 4 projected. If we filled every position, the cost of 4. That's what we want to see. And what is that? And then reduce that down. But there's like 10 different line items here that are under 25% utilization. Like this is us doing all of that instead of coming to the table with it ready to go for council.
I agree with you, but I'll add a caveat to that. Let's go through, like you're saying, there are 10 items in there, so let's make a specific list
Yep.
to give to the town manager and to Amy, because you're talking acting Chief Cochran, he wasn't intimate with getting this set up. There's something that former Chief Bickmore had gone through. So if we can come up with specific line items, specific questions,
Yep. I'll list them. Ready? So,
and that way we can get it to them. So when we do come back, we can talk about it. It'll help Chief focus in on
for
it.
sure. Yeah, and I think it would be a good exercise for Amy, because if and when the new chief comes in, the fact that you've already vetted this and you're intimately familiar, this would be the first question I would have as a new leader is, talk to me about the budget and what's the plan and what's already been ordered and what are we doing, you know what I mean? They're going to have all those questions for you guys.
Well, and I actually have been working with another chief on this, and unfortunately they had a chief's meeting for the state today.
Yeah, so
And
maybe
he
it
had
makes
to be
sense
there.
we-
So he even said he's been very helpful.
Perfect.
He wanted to actually be here for
Yeah,
this.
we would
He
prefer
has
that,
Big
actually.
insight on that.
Yeah. So we would prefer that. So if you look at this, I would say section 5, let's say we'll go travel, mandatory training, Obviously, membership dues is depending on how many people.
Okay,
Uniforms.
so if you want to go by line item, so you're talking about 05,
Oh,
20?
okay, so, yeah, 0520, 0525, 0530, 0535, and then, that one looks okay. Go down to 1510, and then, let's see, 20, purchase and rental in general.
2005.
Yeah.
2005, because I questioned that.
Yeah,
that number.
2005, 2010, and really 2015. I would go.
Yeah, the 2015.
I would do all those because they're very low for the year, and then go to print and form, whatever 2510. And I'm assuming that
Advertisements.
got blown out of the water, but that's in utilities. I don't know, and I would make adjustments for advertising and utilities if we're at that percent. And then that's not an accurate number, so it needs to obviously go up. And then I don't know what. Oh, the school resource officer, which is not on.
Yeah.
There.
So, quick review, so 5, 20, 25, 30, 35, 15, 10, 2005, 2015. Did I get them all?
5, 10, 15, yeah. And then I would go, did you say 25, 10? You did, right?
2010?
25, 10.
25, 10. Nope, 25, 10.
25, 10. And then adjustments for 25, 30 and utilities because they're obviously way low.
0515 is crazy. Telephone. Like 10 grand.
Right.
37 lines.
0515's workers' comp.
What is the change on that?
What's that?
2505.
0515.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's weird how they do it. Anyway, it's 30, 15. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, next page.
Okay, 30, 15.
Top
Okay.
guy.
Yeah.
And telephone, yeah.
100% increase.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, hold on a second.
I just asked a question of Amy.
Because that 2505 is the Central Square, where we're going from INC to Central Square.
That's that radio, the
Yeah.
dispatch system, right?
We talked about it last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was 80 grand. I only see 30,000 accounted for here. That's
It's
what.
phased.
No, they phased it out.
It's phased
Was it
in.
phased?
Yeah.
Yes, over several years.
Yeah.
That's the first allocation to the pending.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get you, Heather, hold on.
I'll be very quick. I think Amy would agree with me. Right now, we have the chief, which we're filling, and we have 2 vacancies for officers, but I would expect 2 officer vacancies in 2023 also.
Yes.
Yes.
So a turnover of 4 total, 2 to fill and 2 to turnover.
Yeah, so I think that we're really planning for the chief, 2 officers right now, but next year, there'll be 2 more officers.
Okay.
So Catherine, as we mentioned, we want to table at another time so we can get some more detail on this, but what Lindsay had recommended, looking at specific line items here, did you get all of them? We want to go through them?
We can do it for the record, sure.
Yeah, so that you can pass it on to Amy, so Amy and you and whoever the police department can work on this. We're all on the same page. So I had 0520, 0525, 0530, 0535, 1510, 2005, 2015, 2510, 2530, and 3015. And the majority are because of underutilization from previous budgets, but, I have questions on 2005 and
Yeah,
2015 with the tasers.
I have this one right here, and I have
You have the year-to-date actuals.
Yeah, Craig, go ahead.
I have
Just-
this that she just gave me
Yeah.
last month.
Is that the same?
Yeah.
And that's the whole year so far.
Yeah.
This should, okay.
Well, that's October, right? And then the year date.
It's the date, except for the entry.
And you have like a percent burn on the right-hand side where you can see how much of that budget you've used.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all we're doing, right? Just going down through and looking at the math, saying, all right, that's within 20%, you kind of let it fly, but much beyond that, it just brings a lot of questions up.
Go ahead, Craig.
Catherine, what was the first year payment on the new system?
The 2505.
2505.
Pittsfield's share for 2023 is $27,911, and we have the bill already
Yeah, that's on
for
that.
next year.
Okay, but Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that part.
The 25.
So there's no savings in the discontinuation of the, so they're not, we're still gonna be spending the money for the first year, even though we're paying for, so we're paying for 2 systems for the first year?
Yes.
This is our allocation for next year. It's not due until July.
The answer to your question is yes.
Yes.
Yeah, as they convert, right? It has to be converted.
There's an overlap.
A full year?
I don't know, but there is an overlap there because you can't flip the switch and have one drop and one take off. I think Bernie can have some detail on
Yeah, at
that.
the chiefs meeting the other day, Smith said that they've been in the process of, the people from the company, whatever the name of it is, had been in, looked at what they had, and they were in the process of putting together what they're going to provide us to bring back so they can look at it and make sure it's.
So there will be a credit back to us for the unused portion of the year on the old system. Potentially, that's what they're.
Well, no, because even after they come back with that, it's going to be several months. It'll probably be into 24 before we get this system in place.
Heather, you had a question there.
I had a couple questions. Amy, do you know what 2545 is community services? $2,500.
I know, just what he kind of went over with me when he was here for a little bit, because I asked the same thing, community services, he went over stuff that he does in the community to help out, and things that he has to pay for when he does meetings or different things like that, but I've never been involved in that yet, because there are a lot of things we haven't done that was supposed to be, so I don't know if that's exactly what that is. Is that what I explained?
Is it trunk or treat, or didn't they do a diaper drive or food
Yeah.
drive? Is that part
And
of
then
that?
he used to do meetings and do like luncheons for all the businesses and stuff like that too. But he said we should be doing different events like that.
Anything else, Heather?
Okay. The other question I had was, I know Dirigo Safety is like the updating the programming systems update and like the safety, like all the paperwork stuff, policies and stuff that has to be updated on a yearly basis.
And their trainings.
Right, but it's listed in is there a training component that's $4,380, and then it's also listed on the back under contractual for an additional. It doesn't have an amount there.
So Dirigo Safety, we do pay a yearly fee, and we also do different trainings through Dirigo as well. Like certain trainings that I have gone to, I've gone through Dirigo and Augusta and done the trainings there.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the officers do online trainings with Dirigo that we have a contract with them to do so.
So this isn't an overlap between the two, it's two separate programs? Because it's training and conferences, $4,380, and then it's under contractual $2,505, it says Dirigo Safety. It's not added, it's not in the budget in two different places?
Well, because it's broke up, so we have our contract with them where we have the program, and we can go on and do trainings online, that's yearly, the officers have to do, and then they also keep track of all of our policies. But then Dirigo also offers trainings throughout the year that you can go there for, and that we sign up for, and get POs, and then
So
pay them separately.
is that come
I think
under
that's
this
what it's like.
$4,380, or does that come under,
That
can you
comes
do a
under-
breakdown for what these items are? Because it's a $59,000 line item under contractual, but there's no individual information about, there's no way to track it, at least in this document, like from year to year, what those costs are.
So it's essentially $32,000 that isn't spread amongst whatever's left here, because we know that that upgrade is $27,911, so we'll call it $32,000.
Right. So that one's got that. So where is the distribution of those $32,000 on these other items? Like the IMC is the software part that's phasing out. So eventually this will be reduced after that's phased out at what, 2024 you said?
Yes.
Catherine, can we add that to the line item?
Yes, that's what I was.
2505.
That's what I was gonna know.
I mean, it might be informative, like, knowing what's coming up, what can be coming out of the
It's an
budget.
excellent point. Like I said, there might be some contractual things like for the next year that after that we won't need it. We don't know.
Right.
For right
And
now,
then-
we can't talk to that.
The other question I had was under 0115, the cadet program was put in several years ago, and it's kind of been an aspirational type thing that's never really come to fruition, in part, I think, mostly because of staffing issues, not having staff dedicated to it, because it takes quite a bit of programming from what he said about it before. So I'm wondering if that could be cut until there's a point where the department is consistently staffed in a way that it would actually have dedicated staff to be able to do that programming.
I think whenever we schedule the next meeting, because we're looking to table this and we're giving specifics for Amy and the town manager to follow through with, we can certainly ask them to speak to that. Because if it may be something that they anticipate coming up, or it was historically they did before and just kept been adding on. I mean, really
Well,
good
it's
point.
just been kind of hanging out there for
Yep.
like
No, I agree.
3 or 4 years.
No, I agree. So we can add it to the specifics that we would request information for the next time we meet.
Are you talking about the academy one?
No,
Yeah,
it's a
$3,000
program.
yeah.
It's like for high school kids to learn about being police officers.
Oh, okay.
I mean, just the fact that you don't know what it is, it's somewhere it's at in development and stuff, and it was a program that Chief Pete wanted to develop with great intention, but then 2020 hit with the pandemic and staffing changes, and with a new chief coming in and up to 4 officers coming and going, then that's probably not something that's going to have consistent staffing to be able to implement.
He may have different priorities.
And he might have different priorities.
So what we've discussed is to provide some details for feedback from maybe the police department, town manager, to look at another meeting. So before we move on with this one, I'll look at suggestions when you'd like to bring it up. As always, next week, that's Thanksgiving week, nothing scheduled for that. The next scheduled meeting is 12/6.
Well, that's probably one.
I know, I'm thinking we can set up a Tuesday on November 29th.
Yeah, that works.
29th, I think, would give us time
Yep.
for
Yeah.
everything
Good.
to be done.
I
Can we
hate
start the
giving-
meeting
I hate
early?
giving everyone homework over vacation, but, so
No,
let's
this is
plan
the
on
year.
November 29th,
That's 6 o'clock.
okay?
Yep, 6
We'll
o'clock.
make 6 o'clock, okay?
Yeah.
Now, we'll hold full groups if
And-
people don't put it out at 6:30, so
Well,
we have to change
The
it.
council just said 6
We're
o'clock,
gonna
so
say
all
6.
groups can.
Yeah.
So are you okay with that, Pete?
Yeah.
Okay, Brent?
Yep.
Good with that? Lindsay?
Yep.
Craig? Yep. Eric? Yep. Jason? And as am I. So let's move on. You have what we requested for information, Catherine?
Yes, and
Okay.
Marty had his notes on some of the items that he put together. He was utilizing Chief Bickmore's notes and everything.
Okay, there are a couple that Heather had mentioned, okay, that you had on there.
I'll
Okay.
assist with that.
Yep, very well. So let's move on to animal control, please. On page 27, account 05-25.
Basically a 0.17% decrease.
Decrease?
Yes, minor decrease.
Yeah.
So we've only used 44.17 as of October %.
Yes, we've got to get an animal control officer and not somebody who just goes to a few calls now and then on a stipend.
Is that position posted?
Amy, were you able to work on the animal control officer?
I was told to hold up.
Yeah, it wouldn't be approved for this budget season anyway.
Right, but we need to do something. The officers have complained about handling the animal control calls. Frankly, in my other town, they did handle them unless there was something big.
Right, but how would Amy have posted anything? if
Well,
don't
we
even
have money now, we could post it. Yeah, well, I
There's a
think-
lot of money in that account.
Oh, I know there's a lot of money there, it's just, I didn't think you could just add a position if you have some money laying around.
Well, we need to have, right now, we've got
That's a
somebody on
position that's
staff
subcontracted out.
that's just contracted out.
But when you say contracted out, we're paying an individual a contract fee for this service?
Yes, as agreed upon by the town council.
And or the officers are handling the
It's a
calls.
per occurrence fee though, right?
No, that's what we used to have. Chief Whitmore wanted to have a certain amount per week so the person would keep the job because they needed to have guaranteed income. And so,
So $350 a week.
Yeah.
So we're paying somebody.
So there is money in here for a person, part-time ACO, $350 a week, times 52 weeks a year, not $52, at $18,200 a year. So technically there is a position. It wouldn't be, but I don't see any,
I think it's
but
clarification.
that would be by contract. That's not going to be a town employee.
Clarification, you just said officers are complaining because they're handling the calls, but we're paying someone to be on call.
Yep, some of the calls they are in.
So we're paying someone to be on call, but they can't answer all the calls, so we're also having officers do it whenever they're not available.
Yeah, if they're available and, frankly, if they're available and it's not an issue, they can get the dog or the cat and then call the office and we found out the rabies numbers and everything, license numbers. But if there are specific problems and issues that need to be addressed by an animal control officer, they should be.
Well, if we're paying them $350 a week, that's what they're supposed to be doing, period.
Well, right now they're being paid $200 a week.
So you want, going forward, you want an animal control officer employed by the town, right? Going forward.
Contractual, that's
It
why we're
would be
not
better
paying.
if it was contractual, frankly.
That's why we're not paying all the bennies and all that stuff.
Well, that's what we're
Go
doing
ahead.
now.
You just have a part-time stipend that was requested by the former chief approved. I'm not saying I agree with it, but that is what we decided to do, to cover.
The audience.
Yeah, Amy, go ahead.
So we do have somebody that she's filling in right now. She's actually ACO for Waterville. She's only filling in because she said we have to have one. The plan when I was hired with Pete was I was going to take it over as part of my job that I'm doing now, and he was going to make up the difference in my pay. But unfortunately, talking to Catherine, she said that can't be done. So the other chief that was looking at coming on at one point in time said the same thing. It made sense, and I was willing to go do the training and take it because a lot of times the officers will go with the ACO anyway. Like, I'm here all day long. At nighttime, I was willing to go out extra and do that, and it wouldn't be overtime for me on my pay because it would be included. So that's something that we looked at as well because she's there, but she's never available because she's full-time Waterville ACO.
Right.
And so the officers are getting called out a lot, and when they call her, she's just not available. And it's hard because when they did post it, there wasn't many applicants at all. It was very hard. That when I first started, we couldn't find anybody to take it.
So that's the posting that you were just asked about a few minutes ago, about filling, because we obviously can't have this person from Waterville doing it if she's not available.
Right.
So you're willing to still do that?
Yes, because what Pete was going to do, he said it would be a stipend on top of my check, but Catherine said she can't do a stipend. So, or he said just add it to my pay. And that way it wouldn't consist of overtime.
So why can't it be added? Why can't there be a stipend, Catherine? For a salaried employee, as long as it's not overtime, that's
We
perfectly
can't add a
reasonable.
stipend to an employee who's working 40 hours a week.
Why?
The Internal Revenue Service talked to us because we used to have stipends, which worked out wonderfully. We had a number of them. And the IRS came down because somebody complained about this. And you would have somebody who was working 40 hours a week, and they were getting a little stipend. And we were told that was supposed to be overtime, and we were in violation of the law. So we phased all of those out, with the exception of one, which now they're all gone.
So it's my understanding an employee can work beyond their, as long as it's part of their salaried position, so there may need to be a position modification.
You'd have to make somebody be the administrative assistant / ACO.
That's right, and
Not
that
to
we have the
exceed-
power to do, and it would
not
save
to
us
exceed-
$30,000 a year
Yeah,
to do
not
it.
to exceed 40 hours a week.
Right, but I mean, you can work more than a 40-hour position if you're salaried. Is she salaried or hourly?
She's hourly. She would be underneath the IRS designation of the cost. At least she was.
I'm very familiar with employees that are if we can modify the position and make that for next year, that would save us from having to pay a $31,000 animal control. We could maybe adjust the pay to reflect her new responsibilities and salary position, but that would be like the best of all the worlds combined, in my opinion. But if you have someone willing to do it, who's affixed to the department that is normally now doing it, who's willing to do it and get the training, it would be a massive cost savings to the town to do it this way.
Keep talking though. I mean,
I think
what we would suggest this, that you wouldn't move the whole 30,000.
No, I wouldn't address the whole 30,000, but I mean, if her duties and her time permits this to happen, then maybe that's something that we can budget for.
So it's a good idea. One of the items that was brought up, and the reason of having the administrative assistant was to have somebody in the office, because people would come in and somebody was never there. The police officers used to be in the office, but once the computers were all moved to the vehicles and everything, they're out on the street all the time.
Right, but with a chief coming in, promising candidate of a chief coming in, then there should be somebody here more, other than if she had to go out on a call, I would think we could cover that time that she's away.
So can this be talked about when we get a new chief in place?
I think that's a good idea, and in fact, we can ask a question of candidates.
Because I like that idea. I'm just wondering if we pass this or modification of such.
It's a good question.
At the beginning of the new year or have the next chief in here and kind of, okay, how can you mold this into what you have in your department? Is it possible?
So should we table it until
So now you're gonna
the
budget
next
it.
week at least?
Well,
We'll have a second
I don't
interview.
know.
until
Well, no,
then.
we'll have to tape. If you want to table, it's going to be at least till the 29th, and we're still going to be without having a chief in place to make these decisions.
Well, that's what I mean, but we could maybe ask about the feasibility of that at a second interview, like Kathleen
Yeah,
was
we're
just
going to
speaking to
add
that.
a question to the list of questions that we're putting together.
You're assuming that you'll have candidates give you responses, but
Yeah.
we're
I know. But
do you know we're looking at the 29th. We're adding another day for this budget.
We're talking
I
about
don't
the
think
police
there's
that
any
day.
risk to
anyway.
this because we're currently not
Right.
spending.
No, we're
everything
talking
on
about police that day, but there's $31,000 that the question is, can we put it into the police department somehow? But we can't answer that, and I don't know if we're going to have personnel available to give us a response. The great idea was, okay, let's have a new chief do it. It's fantastic, but when is that going to happen? What I'm saying is that if we can deal with this and the police budget reasonably and get the budget where it needs to be, new chief comes in, here you go. Here's this part of the budget, see what you can do to dissolve this in the police department, save a couple bucks. Yeah, Heather, go ahead.
Couple things to think about. Amy's in the position now, willing to do the training, do those types of things. Amy is not always going to be in that position, and if you tie ACO duties to the assistant position, you might not be able to find somebody to fill that position at another period
And I
of
think
time.
that's a bridge we can cross when we get to
One
it.
of the other concerns is that we tried to save money in this budget before by adding it into we added a patrol officer, and we said the patrol officer is going to do the ACO duties. So we had a dedicated person in-house that we always knew was going to be available, and then we couldn't hire for that position. So it's a problematic thing. It's something we're mandated by law to have. It's certainly a good workaround to have somebody on staff that's willing to do that training to do it, but I don't know long-term if it's a good thing to do. But it does make sense to table it and talk about it at the next meeting, because it's always been tied to the police department, so that's like an overview of that.
So, council,
Actual right now, it's not contractual.
Correct.
Well, this is the 2022 budget book.
I know, it was supposed to be, but
It's contractual.
yes, it was supposed to be, we wanted it to be, but it ended up, when the decision was made on the resolution, that we have the employee. It's bounced back and forth because we couldn't hire the ACO as a patrol officer, which did seem like a good idea.
So we've got a precedent to set with Public Works and recycling, right? Where one person is holding two jobs, salaries are split across. So we don't have to make the position admin assistant / ACO. We have one person that's holding two positions inside the town.
Oh,
So I don't know why we have to combine it. It's not that we have one person. Well, what we have to decide is how much of this portion are we willing to pay in a salary? And we can look at that based on our annual spend on this line item. We can come up with a salary offer.
No, it's not the money. It's having that person available where that person needs to be most at the time that it's needed.
Right, but if we have a solution to our problem today, this year, what she's making a commitment to hold that position.
Right, but then again, you want to take what Heather had added. That's actually what I was thinking too. Okay, we're making a position for Amy. What if she decides to leave or go somewhere? Now we have 2 positions that are empty because one person left.
No, we still have a position, like we have a person at recycling, right? We have a position that is held in our recycling.
Right, but you're saying to take the ACO and the admin assistant, make it one person.
I say it's 2 separate jobs held by one person in this case. So we just determined what our salary offer would be.
2 separate jobs held by one person. That person leaves, goes somewhere else. We still have 2 jobs that are open.
So why is it different than what Donnie does?
Yeah, you get the
That's
same
what I'm saying.
problem.
That's the precedent that we have. We have recycling, we have public works.
Donnie's
Held by
up,
one
Donnie
person.
up and leaves, you got 2 positions.
I know, but it's something that the council made the decision on. It works pretty good. I didn't like it for that reason. I wasn't in for that reason, but what I'm saying is that if we could do that tonight, let's do it. I have no problem with that. I just want to be practical. If Amy can't come in for some reason, or she wins a Powerball, or she just decides to go somewhere else, so there's not one position, but 2 that we have empty. I know it's the same thing with Donnie. I get it. I know that.
Right.
We're not flush with people who want to come work for the town.
Right now, it's technically empty already. We have a bulk, let's call it what it is, we have a BS covering, right? Right now, we have somebody that's willing to say they're our animal control officer and take like 1 call a year so it's real. And other than that, we're really stuck with an open position. This is an opportunity for now to A, fill a position, B, put it with somebody who's willing to, who would probably like the money as well, right? I mean, we all like money. And we can solve this and save a little bit on 2 budget line items.
So, Amy, question for you. You said that there's some training required before you can be designated as an ACO.
So you can actually go and sign up for training. There's an online, plus $50 to go online.
Hey, guys, hold on. I can't hear this.
You have to go online and take the training, and it's $50 to do that. And then once that's done, you sign up, and you have a year to get certified. The reason why they give a year is because since COVID, they haven't been able to get people in for the training that they have to and the certification. So they give you a year to be an ACO after you take that test to get certified with the state.
So, you know what animal control is involved in this town, how many calls you get. I mean, it's important to have a person there many times when the officers are out. Is it realistic to say, okay, what you've seen from Pittsfield the last 4, 5, 6 years for animal control, is it realistic to put that on you, do your duty here and the ACO? I mean, is there a possibility that you're tied up with something that chief wants you to do, or you're involved in something that you can't make the call?
Yeah, because I've talked to chiefs around and when he was here, and that's something we all decided that other departments have done the same thing, and it worked out fine. Skowhegan, their ACO was their admin assistant. And
Okay.
they said it never was an issue. And they were busier than we are.
So if we made the decision this evening to take this budget, or part of it, add to Amy's pay and designate her as the admin assistant / ACO, can we do that this evening? Are we willing to discuss that, council? I know you brought it up, Craig. I mean, is that something you guys want to hammer out? That way we can take care of this tonight.
Well, we can put it as a resolution for next week, or for our next
Yes,
meeting, or
let's,
special meeting.
let's put it together so we get all the amounts and everything.
So
We can still do the budget.
right, I mean, it's a good idea. I play devil's advocate for everything, so that's why I was bringing that up. But we have, on the 29th, we'll be talking about the police budget at 1800, 6 o'clock, and we can add this to it, and that's something we
Let's do
need to
that.
consider.
We'll have
Yep.
maybe some feedback from candidates,
Yep.
Yes.
chief police candidates,
Yep.
and maybe.
You know, so
iron out-
knowing that it's a possibility, maybe that's something you look into or consider, or, something like that. I don't know.
So
But it
we
gives us a
can-
couple weeks to at least
Talk
Talk
to you,
about it.
talk to
So we
Catherine
should
about
get
it.
the information from Scott Hegan, like the job description, how it works and everything.
That'd be good.
And the chief from Skowhegan was actually the one that was willing to come and go over the budget.
Yeah.
So he was
Hopefully
willing
he'll
to
be
go
here
over
the
all that,
29th.
so
That'd be sweet.
Okay.
If you want him here, I can ask him to.
Would you please?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. Appreciate that.
Let's get the information so they can have it in their package.
All right, thank you, Amy.
Sweet, that's nice.
All right, so, we're through animal control, let's do supplemental information.
All right, for supplemental information, you have two sheets or pages from the audit on the water and sewer. And
What page?
Are they sequential in
they are sequential,
And the,
yes, and they have page numbers.
the budget thing that you put out for tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that the statement A?
Statement A, yeah.
What page are we on? Sorry.
It's this one right here, statement A, it's in the,
Oh, it's online.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's a package that Catherine sent out for this budget workshop tonight.
Yeah.
You can grab a hard copy up there if you need. Statement.
So Kathy, you got some information you want to provide on that?
Is that page 5?
Yes, 5 and 6. So basically, I spoke with the auditor who explained to me that we do not have enough cash in the water sewer department to be making expenditures as were suggested. This goes back to the same issue on how with the assets, liabilities, and the equities, that because we don't have the particular amount of cash that we need, because there's so much depreciation and the system doesn't have a high value because it's older lines and it's depreciated so much, that we do not have the cash to be going and making a lot of expenditures out of the cash for paying off debt service. Now, in the water department, we did start an account for debt service payments. So you could make a payment here and there or plan out part of a payment, but we can't, because we lack the cash in the water and sewer department, as would be shown in the audit and in the current general ledger, we can't be taking a lot of money out. For example, in the water, we've got the standpipe painting. We have a reserve, so that's cash. And having that cash makes the rest of the fund balance and the equity work so that we're not in a deficit. The auditor said, and he's going to help me, we're going to do a write-up here, but just in general from the discussion, he indicated that if we were to try to take out, let's say we said we wanted to pay for one of these loans, like $1 million, or not get a loan, pay it out, or schedule it, we'd have to be very careful because in his estimation, we would have to borrow from the general fund, which is all of the departments, and we don't want to do that. When I arrived here, you had loans, inter-department loans, inter-fund loans, in which the taxes had paid off for a lot of the water sewer items because you didn't have the cash. And so those had to all be paid off, and that took a while. So we said after that we would not be doing that. But he's going to assist me with some issues that we're having with TRIO and give me entries that will help that have now functioned from the conversion over to 2022. The depreciation's not in your sheet. The departments work well for the town departments, but there's an issue on water sewer. And so he's going to give me some beginning entries because we can't move anything over from 2021 into 2022 now that the conversion has happened. We've tried, but it doesn't work. So that will give us a better idea with the depreciation charged to the accounts exactly what we have. But his estimation is that we do not have the cash to be spending much money out.
Is that because we haven't received the cash? What?
No, that has nothing to do with it. It's the actual
Yeah, there's no-
real cash that we have. It has nothing to do with the water sewer billings or the fact that there'll be an accounts receivable at the end of the year. We have cash in the reserve accounts. That's our cash. So, because it doesn't have a checking account. So we have a standpipe painting reserve in water, and in sewer, we're fortunate enough to have the sludge account in the sewer projects account. So those are our cash. So if we spent it all down, we would be in the negative. So he's going to give me an entry that's going to help with the depreciation, make that clearer, and go through the whole general ledger to make sure everything came over. It came over except for water sewer, in my estimation. And we'll talk more about how much can we really take out.
Well, because I remember his presentation, and one thing that stood out to me was he said that we had a good, strong cash position.
We do. We're not in the negative like many towns.
Right. So, but he said that's good, and what people would do is they would use that money to improve their systems. That's what I remember very distinctly about his presentation, because I was like, oh, because it feels like we're not in a good position because our mill rates, like our taxes are so high, like things don't feel economically great in the town of Pittsfield, but per his audit report, I distinctly remember him saying that we were in a good cash position.
All right, so he did look it over and indicated that
Since
we
the
could
audit?
take out.
Like since the audit to now, has this changed? Or
No, it hasn't changed. I will get more information and have him tell us how much we can take out. Okay.
So what are you looking for an output?
So an output for this would be, we already know that by how slow the process is going to hopefully get some water money from the drinking water program. And it's just later because they have so much money and it's taking a while. So once we know, and hopefully we're going to get some, we can then put the water and sewer together and have economies of scale and borrow all at once. And hopefully we should save money because we're not going out and doing a sewer project, which we have the money for once we do the bond, and then doing a water project later on, or doing the work, survey work later on, do it all at once and save money. So we're looking for a way that we can use some of the general fund for water and sewer toward debt service payments. Basically, we tried to do this several years ago and we couldn't. So we are in a better position now. We're very fortunate. There are so many towns that once that depreciation issue came up, which is an issue for everyone, and the fact that water sewer usually doesn't pay for itself, we're not in a hole here, and we don't want to go into one.
Okay, so
So we're looking for what would be the amount we could take out and use toward debt service for 2023 or 2024. More likely 2024.
Wait, so you want to pay off our loans early?
No, we're going to get more loans. I mean, it'd be nice to pay them off. but
Okay, no, I
we're
want
gonna
to
get
make sure I
more.
understood what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to get more loans. So the
I
question was,
agree with
can we use some of the money in the general fund to pay that off? And originally, that's what we wanted to do, but our cash position was not strong enough. But still, when we're in the blue, or we're in the green, we should
Black,
say,
yeah.
which is good for a water sewer department of our size.
also
Andy-
we're in the brown then.
Yeah, we're in the brown. Yeah, all right, we're in the brown. Annalise runs a few different entities that are in the red.
So do we know what we have in the general fund that we could put against the debt? Do we know how much debt is there? I mean, what numbers are we looking at here?
All right, so we're going to get information from the auditor who's going to go over the general fund and tell us, he just hasn't had time to do it, tell us what we could take out over a period of time.
Okay, so will this be tabled for another meeting then?
I don't think
On
you
the
need
29th?
this. I don't think that you need this right now for the budget, because we said we were going to lower the amount of the debt service, because we put it
Okay.
in, the whole thing was going to be done, but it's really not going to be. But we will need a payment, because the municipal bond bank will charge its interest payment in November if we take out a loan early next year.
Okay, but you're saying this is not a budget item?
No, I don't see it as a budget item. I have to move around the accounts,
Okay.
which we discussed on water sewer, and just leave a note down at the bottom. And it's good that we went through this exercise, because what happens is that we know the loan is coming up, but you don't know how it affects things until you get partway through the year. And then all of a sudden you have to do a rate study, and then it's like you're behind the 8 ball when we did the rate studies the 2 times. So this time we've looked and we see what the impact would be for a full year, so we know that we need to prepare for that, which is a good thing.
Okay.
And this is how we do the rate increases at the right time, if we do need one, instead of, as usual, we look at it and say, no, we don't want to do it, and then we put it down the road.
Okay, so anything else you want to add to that?
No, so that gives background information that people are interested in. I'll have information from
All right.
from the auditor. On the general assistance, you received a copy of the application, supplemental information. There are other supplemental sheets, but they're more specific to certain cases. I did get information from the Department of Human Services that...
Are we still on budget topics here?
Yes.
Okay.
You wanted your GA stuff, and I'll be quick. So the question was, what would happen if we decided not to spend GA on certain things, or just said we had enough? We don't think this is right. We have learned that, and I have information coming, that we would be put on notice, we would be fined and have to pay a fee of $500 plus a fine if we blatantly decided that we're not going to pay for certain items, such as individuals housed at a motel that had unmet need. I also learned, this I didn't know because this is a change in the last few years, if we have an unmet need of somebody who's homeless who ends up here in town, our requirement for the first application is not only to go up to the unmet need amount, it is to go to whatever is needed to house that person. So this is new recently. So that was interesting.
Where did you get that information?
Department of Human Services.
But where?
On the General Assistance Hotline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the Office of Family Independence, they have a general
It is
assistance
the
document.
Office of
Right.
That's the overall office.
Yeah, and so there is some detailed information about municipality responsibilities as it
Yes.
relates to general
Yes.
assistance online.
They've sent me some and they're sending some more.
Yeah, so maybe we talk about that at the next meeting
Yeah.
too, and get more bandwidth.
Yes, he was
Read
specific.
everything.
To what end?
I haven't changed my thoughts on what we should budget, and after an in-depth literature review my personal self, I still remain that we should leave it around 8 to 10,000 and then deal with any modifications after that. So
Am I missing something here? I don't see that on the docket for review or having it brought
No,
back up
these
again.
were
So that
like-
budget had gone through.
Yeah, the budget.
Yeah, so we're good. No, we're good. We had the
Okay.
question about what the application is for the town of Pittsfield, because there were a lot of questions raised at the last meeting of what would happen if a group of people decided to come move into the hotel and just decide to start applying for general
Well,
assistance in Pittsfield.
I agree. I'm not saying, I'm not refuting that, because I agree 100%. I'm looking at the budget here now.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
I'm
Okay.
just clarifying all the questions
Move on.
that we have so that
Yeah.
they're taken care of.
So-
And that's the only other one I had.
Okay, so that was a little sidetrack. So let's get back onto capital expenditures, please. That will be on the next sheet in the supplement,
Yes.
budget supplement for this evening.
Yes, and then in your budget book, you have specific pages and description for the capitals.
Do we have, so it doesn't appear that we have all the stakeholders here to talk about all these line items, police, parks and rec, public works. Is it fair to table this until next week as well? Unless the people can
Do
speak to
we
these.
have any real questions here?
Yeah,
What?
like,
What do we-
what's the 15,000 under the rec lighting, and is it really needed? Can there be fundraising done to accommodate that versus charging it?
Well, these are,
So
actually,
these are
you
the
know,
capital budget allocations that would be paid for with tax dollars. You have a copy in your little package, and it's also under tab 6 in your budget book. And so the items that were submitted by the departments, as with all departments, I'm supposed to bring forward the budget requests that they have. And so we have a number of budget requests from different departments. If we have questions on the Parks and Recreation, we can check into that further. Is there anything else we have questions on?
Library, highway. So I would just say Public Works, Library, Parks and Rec, and police. I know we could ask Amy, but I think it goes with the bucket of if we can see what we can reduce the regular operational budget down by next week, then it would make sense to have money for these capital things if we are able to accomplish that. So I don't think we're really in a position to address it. That's my thought. I'd like to talk to the department heads about these capital requests.
All right,
So we have,
go
I
ahead.
don't know, do you want to do all of them at once, or, I mean, Bernard's here,
Yeah, we could do fire, sure.
he's got a capital request.
So he has number 93 and 96. Fire rescue, 35,000. Fire station reserve, 5,000.
What's that?
See, I don't, the fire station reserve, that's,
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell that's all about.
You don't need it.
Well, no, are you talking about building a new station? Are you talking about making major repairs? I don't know.
No, this
I
is
didn't put it in there, I don't know what.
This is the account that
Who put it in?
is to take care of all the items that you brought up need to be addressed in the fire station, the piping, the painting, the items that Dean brought up, items that you brought up. Just like the police station monies were put in to take care of the backstairs, the flooring, and
What about the generator as well?
yeah, the generator needs to be a grant that I will apply for in January, once we get through the budget process.
Is this stuff listed somewhere? No, I'm just not
And
seeing
that
it.
one's not listed yet.
Yeah. Is
Kevin, is
there-
this listed somewhere?
All right, the generator is something that was already approved.
Years ago.
And there is a grant that we've identified for $50,000.
I think Lindsay's asking if there's a breakdown for what is going into each capital request, right? So $5,000 for what?
Right. That's like, you listed like 6 or 7 things just now, but I don't have that. I'm looking, and maybe I'm missing it, but it's like hundreds of pages, so.
So it's in section 6, and you've got the folded 11 by 17 sheets.
Yeah.
When you start getting into the single sheets, look at the, let's say, count 03. That'll be the third sheet, project free. That's where, you see what I mean?
Computers, 10,000?
No. You're into this section here,
Yep, yep.
you pass these,
Okay.
go into these, and you look at the project numbers on the left-hand side, they're right here at the top of the sheet. So that first one, project free, town offices, computers, $10,000,
Yeah.
it's right here.
Okay.
They're all broken down like that.
So we put together, we have.
So we probably go through most, if not all, this tonight.
Yeah, we have all the history, and then we put in the different items, and not to be caught as we have in the past with your own computers. Instead of having to build up monies and spend a number of years, we're going to replace computers on a regular schedule.
So let's start with the first one, the 03, $10,000 for computers. What, I thought that whole program was like 147 and some change for that. Why is this 10?
You're talking about the digitization?
Digitization, you're talking about digitization here.
No,
That's the next one down.
yeah, that's the next one. The computers and digitization were together.
No, hold on.
We separated them.
Hold on before you go any further. Project 3, you're talking about, the fifth word in there is digitize all town documents.
All right, it's crossed out for digitization. This was changed. It's got the history of when digitization and computers were together. It's now just computers so that it stays with the same number so you can see the history. So this explains out the history, and digitization is crossed out and separated.
So the project description should have been
It's
amended.
only computers.
It's just computers.
Yeah, project finalized due to cost as only computers. It gives you the whole history of what went on. And so on the back sheet on page 4, you can see how these items were changed or taken out of the budget, and then the different amounts that have been put in. So we finished the whole big computing project with the exception of 3 computers. And so over time, instead of letting the computers get really out of being updated and everything with new versions of computers, we would replace computers in a schedule.
So if we're going to replace them in a schedule, would that make it to an operational line item versus a capital request?
As it's recommended, because there would be multiple years and over 5,000, that it'd be a capital budget item.
So each year it'll be a capital request?
Until we build up enough money, or let's say the computers are working well, we only have to do 1 instead of 2, you could cut it down.
So, I don't understand, capital expenditures,
One time
for
project.
lifetime, right?
Reserve accounts are set up for multiple years, such as raising money. We used to have reserve accounts for paving, for example, but you can't do that now because you can never pay for the paving. So we have reserve accounts for projects which are larger. They can be continuing projects of multiple years. Like the library has had $5,000 for a number of years, and then it increased for the window project. And
So-
the police station has had multiple.
Then when we don't approve it, then,
Well,
like
that's-
Bernard's budgeted for a new fire truck for the past 10 years, but nobody ever
Right.
approved it, so
Right.
we still don't have any money for a fire truck.
So we would have to
So even
know,
though he was doing his due diligence of kind of setting aside 35 grand over the course of 10 years, it was never approved, so the due diligence didn't amount to shit.
Right.
Or you spend some of your gas.
Just a damn paperwork exercise.
so basically if we start this process, we need to know how much the final project's gonna be. And we're basically encumbering ourselves for how many every years it takes to do that.
Well, at this point, you're doing 1 year. It's an allocation that's in the budget from the tax dollars. Many towns, I don't know of any town that doesn't, they will put money aside for different projects. And they're projects that, let's say we have a building. You may have one project in year 1, another project in year 2, or it might be to build up the money toward a project.
But the whole point of a capital expenditure is not to build up money, it's to spend the money and budget it over a number of years for the expense. I don't understand. That's like the whole idea of a capital expenditure is to knock the project out. Because if we say we're gonna put 10,000 in a reserve for 5 years, the project's 50 grand. Well, for only in 5 years, it's gonna be 75, we know that. So, right, so, but we do that, in year 4, we go,
Scrap it.
not gonna happen this year. Where's the 30 grand go? That was a capital expense that we
Budgeted for years.
budgeted for, that we took from our citizens, and now it's just sitting there.
No, we didn't, because we've never put any money in it, it's just all been,
Right, but this, I think the whole point is that we're trying to actually put money places, right? I mean, that's
Well, we
the whole
actually will
idea.
need to buy some computers, so this is a reasonable expense.
So if we have an expense that $10,000 can do, my piece would be that we spend this in the fiscal year of
Yeah, it sounds
2023.
good.
How many computers is it?
3.
3 computers? Those are expensive computers.
$3,000 a computer.
That's a lot of everything.
My
You
computer,
have the programs and everything goes.
So software, expenses,
And we've got to get
licensing.
them into the system, so we have to pay logically.
So is there an estimate that's done on this project? Is there something that's already got a quote and we already have it like for next year, or do we do that? We approve it before we know what it's gonna cost?
We had quotes, they may have expired by now,
Okay.
but,
Just curious, let's see.
yeah.
I don't know.
So all these line items for capital improvement, they all have hard number quotes, that's estimates with them.
Some of them do, and some of them are regular allocations that the council has requested that we put aside and start, like the police station reserve, the fire station reserve. Those are not reserves we had, many years ago. It was a request that we start putting money aside to take care of issues in those buildings, which we are now working on. The municipal building, for example, has money put aside toward the elevator and the air conditioning unit. We know we're gonna have problems with them. Some years it's a major
So-
expense. You might have a $4,000 bill. You can't take it out of the regular budget. We go get the money out of the reserve account.
So you're talking, just a point of clarification here, because if you're talking the municipal building reserve, $5,000, right?
That's for the allocation.
Right, and that's all, okay, that's all I need to know.
Yes.
So that's account number 30. Where's the backup for that? So I go to project 30 here and it's a highway department. Am I completely missing something
No,
here?
you're not. I can't make heads or tails of it. That's why I'm just frustrated.
Because I went the first one, project 3 matched up.
Right.
But on the next one, project 8, that's not
Project 30 is sidewalks? Is that what you got? Sidewalks.
Yeah, 30 sidewalks, which is not.
Project 30.
Municipal
in-
building.
Okay, these are the numbers. Let's look at the large scale. Those are the numbers in the budget book in Trio, 03, so 45, 05, 60, 03 for town office computers. That's its number in the Trio budget, because these are monies that are
Where-
would be in the Trio budget.
We don't have Trio. Where is it in this book?
Right, so in this book, we would go to, let's say we're looking at municipal building, it is project number 12, municipal building reserve, $5,000, so it would be 12.
So number 30 on that page is number 12 in here.
Correct.
Well, it's line 12, number 9.
That makes sense.
No, that's right. So, that's right, because it's had 5,000 approved in 2021, 22. So this is the fourth iteration of that approval.
So you mean project 12?
Yes, project number 12 is on page 15.
It's line,
Okay, my project 12 is the police department.
that's line, yeah, it is.
But that's municipal building reserve. I was just told that number 30 on here, municipal building reserve, for $5,000 is number 12 in here. Number 12 in here is the police department.
That's correct.
That's what I'm also
There's
seeing.
line number 12, if you go down the left-hand column, it's line number 1, 2, 3, like on an Excel
That'd be number
spreadsheet. It's project number 9.
Project
Is the
9.
municipal building reserve. So it's just
$5,000.
because that Excel spreadsheet carried those lines over. It's number 9, which matches up with number.
That whole first column should just be blacked out.
What page number at the bottom?
So,
Oh, you're looking at the 11 by 17?
so
It's the single pages is number
So
11.
this summary page means nothing to us then.
no, it does.
The summary page of the
It does.
capital improvements,
That's the
Come
account
on
number.
up here.
That's the account number that's on that summary page.
No, I understand that, but where it is in the book burner, that's my problem.
They don't
Okay.
correlate one to the other.
Okay, so let's
One's
look,
pulled from Trio.
number 30.
Oh, you're looking at this.
Yes, that's in the budget book.
Clear edge mud.
This is the capital improvement budget that was requested for this year.
So we're lining it up off of this. Number 9, municipal budget reserve. Number 9.
So,
all right.
This is the one right there.
This is not hard to do.
it's not hard, Catherine?
I just figured out, so this is why.
I've done the reader out of my
I think I have it. Page 11?
It's like two different.
Yeah, so municipal building is project 9, page 11. I apologize, I need to use my reader here so I can see. I said 12 and I should have said 9.
Are we taking a break?
Taking them.
Is that what's going on here? I think they had to do that. Someone else had to too.
And I apologize, Michael, as we know, my vision is not great, and I should have used the reader, I know better.
No worries. Now I got it kind of figured out here. I'll muddle through. So,
So if you look at the large sheet, let's ignore the Trio budget numbers. which is the numbers that are in the rest of the budget. If we look at the large 11 by 17 sheet, all of the numbers of the projects do match up to the chart because I went through them 3 times and others checked them too.
On the second column, right?
Yeah, use the second column, don't use the first one, it automatically comes out. Craig is correct. So if you were interested in municipal building reserve, that's project number 9. Ignore the 11 and 12. And then number 9 would be project number 9 on page 11. And it gives the history of what's going on, what we've allocated in past years, what will look for different projects. We use the form approved by the town council.
So this list that you have, 13 or 14 projects, whatever it is, those are the ones that had allocations from last year? Or no? Because you have dozens and dozens of these things in there, but you only have 16 or 17 listed.
Right, those are just those there are just for from the budget book on the capital allocations from taxation. So there are other projects on here that are not taxation. There are loans, reserve funds, used grants, etc. Because we have to look at the whole capital improvement plan. If we don't, then if we want to do anything during the year, we have to go back and amend the budget because of the charter. So we have to look at everything, not just the items that are the allocation of the taxation funds.
Ron?
Okay, so going back to what we were discussing just a moment ago. Project number 3. Okay. Computers. $10,000. If I'm understanding this would be our 3rd allocation for approval for funds for a computer upgrade system. Meaning we have an account with $35,000 in it for computer upgrades at this moment.
Which we spent the monies in the account and it's at 0 from the big computer project that took place last year. But we had to spend several years out getting the monies together for the big conversion and updating everything in the server. So now to make sure that we don't get stuck and have to raise monies, in the years ahead, we were told it would be a good idea, and it is, that we would budget some money to take care of the rest of the computers and not get caught with having to do it all at once.
So, just a quick question. If we're supposed to be looking as a history on this line item, why would I not have that information that money or that account is down to 0?
Right.
I need to know that there's been expenditures against this account.
In fact, the project should be complete because the
That's right.
project has a start and an end, and then we should be starting over with that should be part of the past now.
That's right. This is
And we
no
should
longer-
start over, and 2023 should be the beginning of a new project, which is to go forward and do new computer projects into the future. If these all run on together, then there's no definite beginning or end, and no council would ever make heads or tails of this.
Well,
into the
that
future.
is the way that they've been done. We're supposed to keep
I'm
them all the same.
Well,
So you have the history.
right, but that's, well, I'm just saying, I find this almost impossible to understand and follow. And I've done lots and lots and lots of budgets, like lots, for almost 7 straight years. And this is like nothing I've ever seen. So I don't know how to tell what accounts are at what, how much money is where, what projects are pending and what are completed. It's really very challenging, but
I'm kind of glad you said that. I'm sorry that we had to say that for that reason. I'm glad because now I'm right on. I'm with you because I am exactly the same way. This makes no, and I've gone through these before. This makes absolutely no sense to me. I have no idea what we're supposed to do on each one of these. Do we say yes to all of them? Do we say absolutely not? Do we pick and choose? Do we get the police department representative back in here? Do we get Donnie here to talk about the transfer station? We have Bernard here, we talk about fire station. What is our function with this? I don't understand what we're doing with
But
this.
we certainly need to know how much is kind of already in place and how close we are to completing any one of these projects.
right.
And why are there loans and capital expenditures? I don't get it. If it's a loan, it's a loan. which is
Should
in
be
and of
debt
itself
service.
a type of a capital expenditure, but it's a loan.
But it's a loan,
That
it
would
should
be
go into
debt
debt
service.
service, right?
So we have to have the loans, the grants that we're going to spend, all the items that are going to come in during the year, the possibilities, have to be approved as part of a capital improvement plan, as part of the budget process, or each time a grant or a loan or a special project comes in, we'll have to amend the budget and go through the whole process. It's because of the way the charter is worded that everything is together. This was the way to avoid constantly having to amend the budget, which they were doing. And I apologize, but there's been no questions or problems with this for 20 years here. And so if we want to redo it somehow, we can.
Well, it sounds like there have been different processes in 20 years, because you said people were constantly having to amend the budget.
Well, that was before I came.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So that was one of the projects I was to work on when I came, is to stop all that.
I'm fine with approving potential capital projects for 23, and then having these land as resolutions on subsequent meeting, whatever, like, because they have to be actually approved to spend at the
Correct.
council level. So this is all like theoretical anyway.
Correct.
But in theory, if we were to truly go and do all of these, we would truly spend this much money in this upcoming fiscal year. I mean, in theory, that's what we would hope would happen, right?
If that was the intent. Now, the intent of councils and boards of selectmen across the state is also to save money towards certain
Right.
projects. And that was something some people wanted to go back and save the money for paving, so we didn't have to get a loan, but it's such a large cost, we just simply can't.
So
do
I
it.
think what would be helpful is, I understand the why behind it, because this is really the only way to do a rolling accumulation toward project goals. But what's unclear is where we are in the current project. So projects have a beginning and an end, so we need to be able to see on these documents, where are we, what's our rolling dollar amount for this project, how much has been expended against it, and what's the projected date of completion. Otherwise, these just roll on into perpetuity, and then it's just ambiguous, that's all. It's like there's no clarity here.
So we actually, many of these projects do continue on, like you'll get,
Yeah.
let's say you'll do the air conditioning units for the municipal building, but there'll be some money left in the account, which then heads toward the elevator is our next priority.
Right.
The council would choose the
There should
priority.
be different projects.
And take the money and move it over.
Right.
Why
And then move it forward.
wouldn't that be part of your operational budget, where you actually make the resolution to roll over the funds for a 5-year, right? This is gonna be a line item for $7,000 for 5 years. At the end of 5 years, we'll have $35,000, and that's what we're gonna spend on it. If you're doing a capital expenditure, that is all the money spent in the first year over and paid for over a number of years. The payment come after you've spent the money. That's what I don't understand. Operational budget would be to save towards capital expenditures is to spend the money in the first year on an item that's going to have a 5 to 10 year lifespan.
So municipalities, and especially our town, because we're under a very strict charter,
Sure.
I have seen this process also in other communities, in which you would save the money up. They are rolling projects. A municipal building could have 5 different projects. It's up to the town council, based upon the information given to them by the department heads and myself, as to what we spend the money on. You might be planning toward, and this has happened, let's say you're planning toward the air conditioning units because it's 46 years old and it's going to be over $80,000, but the elevator breaks down. So all of a sudden we have to utilize the money for the elevator. You have these monies so you don't all of a sudden have an emergency and have to go into the unappropriated surplus, which in past years was very low, and that would require an amendment of the budget. It's been a long time. So this is the way many towns set up their budgets. It's different from what private sector does.
No, I think I follow you on that.
And I apologize, I said the wrong number. I need to use my reader because frankly, I can't see.
Oh, that's
I should have done that.
That's small stuff. That's water under the bridge. It's more the understanding of approving money for one project only to understand that that money very well could be used for another
But
project.
in the end, you are approving it through the resolution. The council's in total charge of the projects. You may start out with one, because you're putting the money in a reserve to protect the town, because we know the air conditioning units on the municipal building are gonna go. It's only a matter of time, because they're 46-year-old and we fixed a few things, but we really are planning toward the elevator, which is having problems.
So that should be in here.
So you put the money in the reserve to address whichever is the first item that needs to be taken care of. And there might be other items. We've done flooring with the.
We're right back to the same
specific.
situation that we jumped on Bernard about.
Yeah.
Not having line item.
It has to be specific. If it's for the air conditioning, it's for the air conditioning, period. You don't fund for one and
Not if you put it in
one
municipal.
and whichever one breaks
That's
first.
not.
Well, you can
I don't
put it
think you
into
should be
general
doing that.
funds, which is what we're doing. It's in a general reserve account called municipal building. Of course, we'd like to straighten out the air conditioning units, but if something happens in the interim on another project, like the elevator broke down, we had to take out $4,000. We're able to do that because it's general.
I get that, but so we're saying that this is a process that hasn't been broken in 20 years, but this is exactly the process why the residents of Pittsfield say, we talk about this every year, you guys approve money for this every single year, we go through this every single year, nothing ever gets fixed. Well, why? They never see where that money goes. We never say, oh, hey, by the way, we had to rob your money for this specific project to go over here to this one.
That is just not true.
So in the resolution, in our resolutions, does it say we are specifically pulling from capital project number 3? It does.
It
'Cause-
says the capital reserve for the building fund.
For the whole building.
Specifically approved and earmarked for computers. No.
Well,
That
for
would be
computers,
for
you would have a
computers, yeah.
computer project, but if you're talking about the municipal reserve, the council approves any expenditures from that reserve, and the items would be in there. Oftentimes, they're matched with bids.
So I guess I'm,
So the council controls the expenditures out of those reserve accounts.
So the municipal reserve is the same as the fire department reserve.
Correct.
As the same as something else.
Police station.
I'm with you, but now I'm coming around to this.
Okay.
Because there was issues, it's like general maintenance. We have a maintenance department. This person or persons in this maintenance department would fix this and fix that, fix the air conditioning, fix the problems with the pipes in the fire department. So what they're putting in here, and I'm looking at this, the municipal building reserve, fire station reserve, because there are issues and items in there. The buildings are getting all the need upkeep. So what they have put out as a capital improvement budget is $5,000 a year in a fund, so anything needs to be done, toilets break down, or this needs to be painted, or needs some patching on the bricks on the outside, that will be coming out of this fund. So by saying that there's, the air conditioning needs to be done, and then the elevator, I would think those would be line items. If they're a specific line item that we have funds for, that should go to that specific line item. So you don't put funds into the air conditioner reserve thinking that as soon as the elevator breaks, we're going to use it for that. I mean, that's
Right.
and I'm with you. I think we're confusing two things here: the municipal building reserve and the fire station reserve. Those are for, and that we talked about this several years ago. I don't know if it was last year. I think prior, about the issues with it started with the lights in the public works building, the pointing and patching that's needed for the bricks here in the municipal building and the fire department. We said, wouldn't it be great if we had a maintenance department that took care of all the town grounds and buildings, all the fixed assets, if you will. So that's what those two are. The reserve account on this 30 and on this 96, wherever they are in here, I still haven't figured that out. But if it's for something specific like transfer station transporter cans,
That's specific.
it's got to be for transporter cans. If it's for computer service, it's got to be for the computer service police department. Okay. So what the request is for this year's budget is a total of $200,000 for capital improvements. So let's start big picture, Catherine. $200,000. We say, yeah, okay, $100,000. We'll accept everything on there. Is this all paid by taxation?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, and I just answered my own question because there's that one sentence right there that says that. Almost like I've never done this before. So do we have? So we had asked last year during the budget process, can we have real time the mill rate changes? If we added $200,000 to the budget, do we have an idea ballpark?
Those are surplus, right?
All right, it's already,
Yeah.
that $200,000 is already in your total budget, but I did calculate.
This
out-
$200,000 already in our total budget.
It's already
Yeah.
in your total budget. You're not adding anything.
But there was a delta of what, 79,000 or something between
75,000.
what we had for surplus and this was like 79 grand, right? That's what the very high paid, whatever.
70,000 within,
Yeah.
whatever, yeah.
So, go ahead, Fred.
I think that horse is officially.
Well, to make you feel okay, I'm looking at these Excel spreadsheets and I still can't find these proper sheets in there. It makes no sense to me.
I just don't understand why we have a building maintenance.
Thank you.
I don't understand why we have a building maintenance fund on the operational budget if I'm going to just put it in a general fund over here for capital expenditure. Why wouldn't I just flop it all into capital, save all my money on my operational expenses?
Because the operational are just regular little items that happen each year. If there's going to be a major item over $5,000, it's supposed to be considered as a capital expense unless you want to change that figure, which the auditor had set, and say ask for it to be 10,000, then you could put that in the budget, but you're going to be having to spend it that particular year, which is what you're talking about.
So,
This is building up the money to protect the town, so if a large expenditure comes in, or a specific project is being planned for the future and needs money, a considerable
We get
amount
it.
of money,
We get it.
there's two types of capital expenditures.
No, I think I track. I just,
There's two types, the collection of the money for a bigger project, the protection of the town in a specific project.
Which was the same.
all right.
Catherine, I think you have someone trying to get into the meeting on Zoom.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
my battery ran out while I wasn't watching.
So let's pick out one that we had in the past. We had the airport reserve. We had to allocate money over a couple of years to have enough money for our match so that we could go forward for the grants. So that was needed to be collected up so we would have a 5% toward the airport hangar, for example.
So you're talking about a reserve, though?
Yeah, they're
Not
all,
all
these are all reserves.
These are all reserves?
All reserves, yeah.
Okay.
For example, if you go down to, on your sheet, the sheet that says capital projects funded by taxation, page 1, and you picked out the garage reserve 99. This was an item that the town council requested, and rightly so, that we have money being put aside for the public works garage, which needs work inside, beyond what can be paid for with a regular budget. And so we were asked to build up the funds so we could take care of a number of items.
So, I understand I'm mixing private sector and municipal.
Yeah.
I get that. But why wouldn't that just be a quotation given to us by a contractor? And that would be a capital request item that we would look at.
So when we get ready to spend the money, there will be quotation, updated
Appreciate
quotations,
it.
not old quotations that we got to build up the fund or to put the money in the account. You would have an actual go out to bid if it's a large project or get quotations if it's a smaller project. So you will have all those in step 2. This is step 1. Step 2 is when we put it all together and put it out to bid or get the quotation and then go to the town council for approval.
But the likelihood in this way of doing your budget, that you don't just go Band-Aid on top of Band-Aid on top of Band-Aid, is almost impossible. That is what you are going to do year over year over year, versus actually putting together your projects that you want to do, and then spending that as a capital expense item, putting that as a capital expense budget item, so that we actually tackle projects that the town wants us to get done.
So what you're saying is that, let's say we wanted to fix the roof on the Public Works garage. It's the last time it was quoted, it was $169,000. So instead of building up the money over a number of years, you're saying just put the $169,000 in the budget and get it over with.
That's the way I would do that on capital expenditure, and then you depreciate that cost over a 10-year period or whatever the life of the roof is. So if it's a 20-year roof, that would be depreciated over a 20-year.
You can lease it. You can take a loan on it. There's a lot of way to pay. You don't have to pay cash on everything.
No.
I mean,
So
And because that's the way that I'm used to doing your capital, your CDA budget, right? Because this way you never, ever, ever, what we end up doing is doing $5,000 worth of patching a year. And it ends up with 17 patches on a roof that's cost us $75,000, and we still have to replace it. We have never, ever, ever replaced that roof because we never put the budget in to just do the project.
This point, to Craig's point, this Band-Aid, like, it's true even if you look at our current police budget. Like, we had $400,000 unused dollars for this year. We have $20,000 that we want for next year. We're not going to spend, so we're going to add that to next year, not spend what was this year. And it's just, and we're putting it in the operational budget and in the capital budget. So I feel like it's no wonder why we're taxed so high. This is layering with no end in sight. It's just,
it's not a layering.
Feels like it.
Since COVID happened, it is true, the budgets aren't being expended. I mean, everybody thought COVID would be over with quicker. The budgets used to be expended, and we used to be very, very frugal in December because we were going to go over if we weren't careful. But since COVID set in and we were shut down for a while, and then everything got behind, yes, it hasn't been spent, but you're going back to where you don't have to wear the mask, you can start doing all the projects. There's more vendors out there, we can get the supplies better, not great, but better. So you will be spending your budgets.
Right, but what I see, like to Bernard's point a minute ago, we're going to put $35,000 towards an engine. Well, he's got a pump that he just talked about. If that goes, that's $40,000. Guess where that's coming out of? Right out of this money, because that's going to be a capital expenditure. Now we're another year behind in starting the project to save for a truck, when we could have just bought a truck and budgeted for that, put the payments in on a capital expenditure. Lifespan of a truck's 15 years, I'm guessing, from what we see in our fleet, 20 plus.
20.
So then you have a depreciated value on that truck for 20 years, and that does nothing but help the financial position of the town. And the citizens actually see the benefit of it.
So the town actually isn't impacted by the depreciation like the businesses. It's something new that went in that we had to depreciate items a few years ago. So it doesn't change our position or make us lesser or more like it would a business. But I will say the reason why we put the $35,000 in and have for several years is because Bernard requested it and the council accepted his recommendation.
I don't question any of that. I'm not saying that any person's wrong. I'm trying to look at it from a different point of view. I play devil's advocate on some of the stuff. Like, how many 35,000s can we put away and never buy him a truck? Right? Like, how many? We had this impassioned speech earlier this year by multiple members of our community about purchasing a new truck and the need for it to protect our community. Yet, when was the last time we bought a new truck?
17.
Okay. So 5 years.
You do need, as Bernard has indicated and has been discussed at multiple budget meetings, we need more than one truck. And the council has in specific years ordered that there will be no loans, which is on record.
Right, but if we're doing just in my mind, if we're doing a capital expenditure, what do you need? What were we looking at earlier this year? 2,000-gallon tanker, right? That's what we were looking at.
Replace engine 3.
To replace engine 3. And we had talked about putting 600,000, I think, was the number that we looked at earlier this year. Huh? I'm pretty sure 600,000 was total in front of us, but I'm pretty sure. I can go back to the stuff, but I think it was 600,000. But I think that we had a gentleman come in here and give us some history on, was it Detroit that had purchased one for $150,000 used?
Yeah.
Gentleman that sat right here. You remember that?
Yeah.
So what we would do is, in my ideal,
And you know that truck they purchased for $150,000 a year and a half ago, still sitting in Ohio or wherever they bought it from?
I don't doubt it. I'm not saying that's a realistic number. Maybe 300 is a realistic number, right? Maybe 425 is a realistic number. But why wouldn't that be the capital expenditure request here?
It is. He has several of them. And so if you look at your large chart, there's no way we could save enough money for the big truck. He's saving money toward his smaller unit. So if you look at number 14, I'm reading it correctly under number A, Fire Engine 3, a loan or lease purchase is listed for $500,000.
Yeah, but that's not bolded, which means that's not being considered at this time, correct?
It will be as part of the rest of your capital improvement plan. We're doing the little capital that are in the budget first, and then you have a number of projects on here for 2023, which will involve loans, lease purchase. I wrote down which one for loans, which one for lease purchase. You got your highway monies, the fire truck, we need a public works truck. And some of these are items that it's totally correct. The council bounced them down, through and forward to future years, so it becomes an
All these ones in
emergency.
yellow are not approved.
It is true.
I'm sitting on the same.
So how do we know, so I'm looking at the Fire Rescue 1. Where that 93 comes from. Fire Rescue 1. On this sheet with the yellow, it has the $35,000 for 2022.
Yeah, that was approved last year.
Yes.
Okay, so there's already $35,000 in there for Fire Rescue 1.
And we didn't approve Engine 3.
Now hold on, let's not go ahead of ourselves. I want an answer to this.
I didn't know you asked a question.
I did ask the question.
What did you ask?
There's a $35,000 sitting in the account for
Yeah.
Rescue 1.
So it was approved for last year, so my follow-up was, so there's $35,000 in that account for Fire Rescue 1 somewhere, right?
Correct. It's in the capital reserves at the investment facility.
Okay. So this goes back to the and I'm gonna complain, a side note here. How this is laid out is the way the budget's laid out. You're looking at information here on this sheet that you can find on this sheet, then you look on this sheet, the summary, and yet all the information you need here, but this is insane. This is not an easy way of looking at it. So okay, let me follow up another question. Hold on a second, please. So we have a request here. Now, this is from you or from all the other departments, $200,000?
These are all the requests from the departments for funding.
Okay, so $200,000, and you're saying if we as a council tonight approve this whole list, it's not going to affect the bottom line, it's not going to change the mill rate whatsoever because that money is already somewhere.
It's in the budget, your total budget, which if you look at tab 3, it's listed here as 200,000, up from 2023, an increase of 22,520. It's already within the projected budget. It has a minuscule effect on the budget. It's already in there. You're not adding it.
So this $200,000, if we went to the specific departments, I would find Fire Rescue 1 in the fire department that has that $35,000 covered.
That was their request as a capital improvement.
No, that's not what I asked. $200,000 you're asking for capital improvement. You're telling me that the budget is already included $200,000 in there. So it's not gonna affect the mill rate.
It's not going to affect the mill rate.
Okay, so where is this $200,000? Where's the line item for that? So if I assume that the fire rescue one is in the fire department, I'm not picking on you, it just happened to be the one I picked up.
It's
So-
in the capital budget under 450560. So let's go to the tab 3, to the capital budget, and I'll get the number here.
So we haven't looked at it in the fire
It's
department.
on page 40. All I
On the
did.
tab 3?
All I did was take a copy of page 40, white it out to 40, and put it in your little package so it would be easier to find.
That's the same thing I have here, it's the same thing on that page.
Correct, yes. This is your capital budget that you're going to fund from taxation that you've been funding for, since capital reserve started. I'm only familiar with, from like the 90s up, you've had a capital budget.
This sheet right here that you're looking at, that's got the, whatever it
It's in
is, the
the
numbers
budget.
beside it, is the same, the account number on that is in there, the same as my 1505. It is an account within the budget.
Yeah. So let's say you have the theater, general assistant, the library, you got little capital allocations, which you've had every year for many years.
So, just to that point, so the roof at the Public Works building is $169,000. And it's in need of repair today.
This is to get it by until you can raise the monies for that project, because $169,000 would be almost a mill added to the tax rate.
Right, in 17 years, but it would be 17 years at this rate to save up the money. And that line item is on here. Garage roof and repairs.
It's likely that at a certain point, you'll budget more for the project or get a loan for the rest of it. This is to get you started, a request from the council, a very good request, that we start working on the Public Works garage due to, I know it's always been like that, but it really needs to be approved.
I personally would just rather this be a loan that we get it taken care of. It's $10,000. I mean, so we spend $10,000. Well, let's go back.
I kind of agree with it, because now we have money sitting that's not working for us.
Or it's just patching, right? We're patching every single year. All we do is patch. And do we ever fix a problem?
Whether that's fixed now or it's how the town operates change, I don't know. But I agree with you.
What I hear is, at the end of the year, I hear a number that I heard earlier this year, which is if we were to fix everything on the sewer and water, it'd be $139 million. Well, at some point in time, we should have not patched. We should have replaced a section that year, just budgeted it. And I don't understand why it's kicking the can down the road constantly. So, So we, in 2021, $10,000, 2022, $10,000. So,
What line are you on there?
so
Rob?
I'm in the 11 by 17. Yep, I'm in the second section. So
Okay, what line?
I'm on line
32. Project 32.
Yeah, line 35, project 32.
Yeah.
So we've got $20,000.
Line 35. Okay, there you go.
But don't be fooled, because we don't have that in other ones.
Well, the yellow ones you did not approve. So anything that's yellow you did not approve.
No, but if I went by that, we have $35,000 in town office computers. But you said we spent that all, so we don't have anything in there. So that's not accurate.
These are what the approvals are.
I know it's approved, but it's already spent. So you can't assume that it's actually sitting somewhere.
Yeah, you did say
And
that.
it
It could
says
be
I
already
I
expended.
can't technically, it's not legal for us to change the capital improvement plan. So you wanted me to change the figures. I said I couldn't But what I would do is mark these up so you knew which ones were not approved.
Well, I'd like to see the ones that are already spent.
That's what I would like to see. So a running tally of accounts.
Yes.
Well, we
Shows
can
what
do,
we
we
have.
can do another chart, this is true.
Well, you could just add another line item to this
To
chart.
this, yeah.
It could just be, I mean, like P is empty, right? So column P is empty. So that could be your column P, right? You can just shift that over.
Aren't the reserve account balances in the monthly expenditures and whatnot that you give out? Aren't the reserve accounts, like the actual account balances, aren't those in those monthly reports?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Are the reserve account balances in the monthly reports, the reconciliation reports, do those include the fund balances for the reserve accounts?
Some of them are, yes.
So so here's my point though, right? And I get all of that. I'm just gonna make this point. Let's say that we have $20,000 sitting there for the roof. So we have a roof that's in need of repair. Have we spent any of that money?
No, because the department head is saving this up so he'll have enough money to take care of the entire roof for patching.
So it's 17 years he'll be saving up, at which time that'll be $250,000.
Well, I think that,
This is not a hit on you.
No, I
necessarily.
know that.
This process is broken. I don't understand. I don't get it. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around it.
It's
Maybe
the
a little
same
sleep.
thing, but honestly, the same thing about the fire truck, right? So you take $35,000 a year on a fire truck. What's your payment going to be on a fire truck? I don't know. Is it going to be over $3,000 a month? I highly doubt it. So you could almost have the fire truck now and still be putting away the same money, but instead of putting away and waiting for someday having this magical fire truck, like you buy it today and you get to use it for the next 15 years.
Then instead of making a savings
Instead of
account, you
making a
make a
savings
actual
account, you're making a payment.
Right.
Like when
So
the
that
interest rates are right, you
that
can do that.
depends on the council. We have had councils over the years that want no debt service, which is how we got into some of this. No money could be borrowed for loans, so we tried our best to save up money. And
Let's say
so
you have failing infrastructure.
Well, I mean,
that depends on what the council wants to do. If you want to take out more loans, we can do that.
That's just my concern, because I think I would rather see that a loan structure where we actually
So
accomplish projects.
let me throw this out
when you
here.
add it to the value of the building and you depreciate it over time, which I don't understand how depreciation doesn't play in because it's right on the balance sheet. But I mean, I just think it makes sense. That's the way we function, right? I mean, if you don't have buckets and buckets of money, you take out loans and at 1% or 2% interest. I mean, I know it's probably going to change. I don't know what the interest rates are now, but I mean, you can still lease a fire truck, and I'm guessing it's probably less than $3,000 a month.
Well, I'm hoping, and Bernard is hoping, that we're actually going to be able to get a loan for a fire truck.
I
There have
also
been
do.
years in which we thought it was going to happen, but the council has decided, and I understand they didn't want to get any loans. It didn't take place. But we're getting to the point, as Donnie had mentioned, we're going to need to get a public works truck. We need a fire truck. Those would be those.
This is where you go through and you actually put a prioritization of projects, right? And you list out your projects on what is your most severe, most emergent need for projects, because I just know that the learning process that I'm going through right now, when I learn this as far as what I see my tax dollars going to, I'm pissed, because that's not the way I run my house. I don't replace a half a square of shingles. My roof starts coming off, I'm stripping and replacing my roof. I take a loan at the bank. I don't say, oh, maybe this will get me by 6 weeks, because it's just not what I do.
Okay, let me throw this out here. Let's try to get back on track and focus here. So we have capital improvement suggestion, $200,000.
Correct.
And I think I'd like to have a little more clarification how that's already paid for. It's not going to increase.
Well, it's,
So
it-
hold on. Let me give my little speech here. So we have that function that we need to understand, and I think that could be, in your points, Eric and Craig and everyone else here. I never really understood this process. I didn't know enough about it to speak up about it, but you guys talking about this has really made a lot of sense. I think that could be a future discussion on how we actually do these kinds of things. Do we want to set up savings accounts for a what if? I understand the building reserve, municipal building reserve, the fire department reserve, the the public works building reserve, and that takes place of a maintenance department. I get that, I understand that, but everything else, I'm having a hard time selling that. So, to try to get a little bit efficient here and maybe make a little progress if we can, let's look at the list that we have, the capital improvement numbers. I don't want to talk about theory, I want to see actual, whether we vote on it in total, we pick and choose, or we table it to get more specific information so we can make a decision. I'm looking at the numbers here, and a lot of them are numbers that were set, fortunately or unfortunately, from previous councils. A lot of forethought had gone back in
2019, 2018, whatever that was, and I remember seeing my first one, they were back in
2004, 2003, when they did that, and they expected over these years by such and such time we'll have this bought. Yeah, go ahead, Craig.
I'm gonna complicate this one more time, but the reserve account, I still don't understand, and I'll tell you why. So, if we're putting away for the municipal reserve, the building.
Okay, you're talking a very minor point now.
I am, but this goes to every reserve.
It's still a minor point. We got a big picture here we think we got to deal with.
Understood, but with what we have understanding on, right? If I'm putting away $5,000, we're putting away $5,000 and we're tucking that away in a capital plan for a building reserve. Any repair for this to be used on has to be greater than $5,000. So if you have a repair that comes up at $4,500 and the municipal repair budget is $3,750, which is what it is, it ain't happening. Right? Because the repair is less than what meets capital, but it's greater than what the budget allows for. Why wouldn't this money it's a line item move. I don't understand why the reserve is there. Why wouldn't you just put it in your operating budget and make a resolution that would roll over? Any funds in that line item would be rolled over.
I understand.
So you can't roll them over. It
goes in the general fund. We talk about rolling over.
Well, we just talked about this, that we
again.
could do a specific line item. We could talk about that.
Within a department budget.
Yep.
Right.
For a big project that's on the horizon, we said it an hour and a half ago.
That's what I'm trying to get. There's a big difference. It just, to me, there's mystery shrouded around this capital project versus if I just took, okay, I'm going to encumber the citizens for $5,000 on capital, or I'm going to encumber them for another $5,000 on the operational budget. The number doesn't move for them, but the visibility and the ability to move for Catherine actually gives her a lot more latitude to move in projects that need to be done, right? They don't have to hit a $5,000 threshold, and there's more than enough operational spend for them to hit the repairs that need to be done in that calendar year, but with a resolution in place that should there be funds at the end of the year, they roll over.
So here's a theoretical. Okay, here's a what if.
Yep.
So let's say we take this capital budget and say no, across the board. No, we're not going to do that. $200,000, we're not going to do that. If you have issues with, let's take the tile and flooring and moving, which, why is that even still in here?
Because it's part of your history.
$10,389 are in there?
Nope.
Okay, but anyway, so let's say they had $10,000 left over. Take that $10,000, like you said, put it in the budget for that specific department, and if there are issues that aren't covered by that, that's where you get a loan, that's where you take from one department by resolution, move it to another one, or within the line item thing. So we can do that. We can vote it in total, say, okay, yeah, we'll bite the bullet on this one. The mill rate's not going to change. However, this is the last one on the capital move that's going to pass like this.
starting next year, we're gonna do it totally different, by the way you say it. We can do that, it's within our power as the council.
Yep, okay.
So we're talking things that we should be talking about next month, month after that, month after that. Unfortunately, that conversation has come up, and having you say it is refreshing, because the first time I've heard it put that way, and the clarity is astounding to me now. Because I've gone through this 12 times, 11 times.
Can we,
Jason,
can we
yeah,
get two things on this 11 by 17? One, what the actual money is still available in those different areas, and two, if the job has actually been completed. We bought that stupid 30 plus ton triaxle trailer that we don't have a truck to pull it around with, but we have that. We also did the floors and the tiling and all that. So start knocking off some of these things, or at least turn them green so we know that they have been accomplished, and I don't look
Right.
You know, you're looking down through here, you don't think anything's done.
Add a column for what is in the actual accounts, Catherine?
Or just,
Can you do that?
you've got columns in there.
I won't be able to add it in here, but I can issue a separate chart.
You can't put it under other?
No, it's part of the formulas, but I can fix this so that.
Well, there's a way to work Excel, but anyway, if you have another chart that shows, but before you do that, take out the line items that are no longer active.
Or turn them green so we know
I'll turn
it's
them a different
accomplished.
color, because I can't change, it's not legal to change the
Is-
capital improvement plan.
No, we're not asking, change the plan. Is this Excel?
Yes.
You can hide that row.
I'm just gonna color it.
Just hide it.
Then hide it. Right click, select, right click.
Just get rid of it. So after we have that list, then what's remaining are in essence current and active, or some state of being active. Those are the ones we would like to have. What's the balance
A real dollar
in
amount.
there? Is there a real dollar amount?
And
You
then-
see?
and
Because if
then-
you look at this, almost $5.4 million history total. Wow. No, but how much do we actually have? We have no idea. We have no idea. It could be zero.
So,
We have no idea.
the council asked last year that we place a different color or mark up the capital improvement plan. I can't change the plan because it's approved, so I put the highlighted yellow on the items that were not.
We're not asking
So
you to
I'm
change
going
that.
to put another highlighted color on the projects that are completed.
That's fine. Yeah. Yeah, just go on the far left and click that tab that highlights the entire row and just change the color.
Yep, that's.
Color, make it a light green, a green font.
So column I could be your remaining balance. If you look at your prior year sheet, right?
There's a way to do that and not have it within the formulas. If you don't have familiarity with Excel,
Yeah,
you
no,
just-
it's difficult.
Another sheet, that's fine, not a big deal.
No, this works perfectly, so I'm not changing it.
No, that's fine. What I'm saying, being very experienced with Excel, I can easily do that, but if it's just another sheet on there, not a big problem. So here's what I'm looking at, folks. We have a meeting set for the 29th at 6 o'clock to go with the police and the animal control. So do we want to add this to it?
I think they're different. I mean, we're gonna end up,
There's a lot of discussions to be done after we approve a budget for capital improvement, or we don't. There's a lot more discussions that have to happen. The whole way that it's going to be handled, dealt with, and financed. I mean, it's a viable option. I never thought of it until you brought it up, and it makes sense to me.
It's fine to change this, but the way that it's being done is the way that other municipalities do this too. This is what I found in other towns. So this is typical municipal. If you want to do it differently next year, that's fine.
Right, but it's worth talking about. If we find that we come back to this, that's fine. We've talked about it. We've educated ourselves about it.
Any changes are fine.
So I would suggest that we table this for the meeting on the 29th. Catherine, is it possible to give us that information on this sheet?
Certainly.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, council, on this? So we all in agreement to move along? Okay.
Are we gonna be able to accomplish this on the 29th?
I don't know, we're
Probably not.
Well, we ought to make it 6 o'clock in the morning instead of 6 o'clock at night.
Well, I know we don't wanna add another night.
I may have my first Red Bull.
I just offered Eric a monster in the car, I got one right out there for you.
I'll tell you what, we're gonna do that, we're gonna schedule a smoke break at 8 o'clock. We're taking a break at 8 o'clock. All right, let's move along here, folks, sorry. Debt service and additionals.
All right, so your debt service and your additionals are included in your small packet as well as in your budget book. Under tab 3.
Brent, didn't you say we're not going past 10 o'clock?
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Well,
we're having
you're the
that
man of the
one.
hour. Let's call it sick. Can we just table the rest of this for another night? Like,
I know.
I'm
My
good.
Bandwidth is shot.
I really am all set. Not to be a party pooper, but let's go tomorrow morning at 4.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know, like, this is...
Okay, I'll tell you what, we have the executive session after this.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
That's
so-
why we want to take.
But the 29th, that's the last opportunity we're gonna have to do anything.
Well, let's
So,
schedule
that's
another
fine.
night then. Can we just have another night?
Hey, if you guys are good to get onto this and finish it the 29th, because we have to present it at the next meeting.
I say we start earlier even, 5:30 p.m. We can start earlier than 6.
So debt service is debt service, these are the amounts.
Yeah, I mean,
This one's easy.
So it'll only take a couple minutes the next meeting then.
Or now.
Okay. Or the next meeting.
if
We
we're
have
going
to-
to talk
yeah,
about
let's table it.
other things, then
So, what time can you start, Pete? Next Tuesday. I mean, 29th.
What time are you looking to start?
No, I'm asking you, what time can you start? I can be here at 5.
I can do 5.
same.
I can make 5.
Brett?
I do 5.
Yeah.
Craig?
I'll make it happen.
Yep.
Yep.
Jason? Eric? Okay, 5 o'clock. 29th, Catherine?
That's fine.
Perfect.
So we'll get out of the left.
Pizza at 9:30, right?
At least it'll be the same day. Okay, so that'll wrap up, correct, the budget workshop. So what I would like to do now is to entertain a motion to go into executive session.
We have to do
No, we're still in the town council. We're gonna do the adjournment after the executive session.
don't we have to make a motion to,
Go into executive session?
I thought we had to make a motion to adjourn
No.
It's part of the time.
No.
Part of the time.
No.
I make a motion, we move into executive session.
Second. Move the second, all in agreement? Very well, we are in executive session.
I'm writing down your motion quickly here.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Amy. Catherine, thank you for letting me borrow this book.
And you do understand this is a regular budget process. You just find many towns.
Oh, I know. No, I mean, it's, I think it's valid, but I don't think it's ever been questioned, but, you know, it's worth talking about.
Yes, that's true.
Do you have a Hamden down? Hamden from budget 1 page.
A page?
I looked at 6 other municipal budgets. I looked at 6 other budgets. There's different towns on the side. The one that's out there for the communities, the Hamden is a 1 pager. High level. Kind of like the document.